Hi everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome. I'm just starting the live now. I am trying to get my recording software going. There we go. Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Background music. I don't really do background music normally. That way, if anyone else that's watching wants to have some background music and of their choice, they can do that. And honestly, I get distracted by some of the crappy background music and it frustrates me. So I don't put it on, and I hope everyone's okay with that. All right, we're going to change the green screen now. A bit of Lisa and her infinite glory. Oh, Chelsea was working on some new Lisas, and I don't remember if she sent them to me or not. I'm gonna have to look for them later. Ah, this one's one of my favorites. When did I become an atheist? I was around 16 that I really figured out what it is, what's the difference between a theist and atheist, and identified as someone that doesn't have a good reason to believe. What's the discussion about today? I don't really have one lined up. We can talk about whatever you want, but because it's Sunday here in the United States, a lot of people are coming out of their church or place of worship today, and maybe they run into this chat and have some questions that we can examine together. Agree to disagree. I really don't like that saying. I've never understood it. If we disagree, then we disagree. To agree to disagree is just a. It reminds me of George Carlin and his rant on words. All right, everyone, time to get on the plane. Get on the plane. Screw you, I'm getting in the plane. Evil can get on the plane. Oh, we've got a guestalent. Are you zesty? I don't know. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Yeah,
What's on your minds today?
so I was gonna say do you just believe that everything came out by chance, like how you came out to live and how everyone else just came out just to live and it came out by chance.
Pretty much, yeah. The conditions, the physical properties of the universe, and the conditions that led to our planet being a good place for life to thrive and evolve. It's just a series of natural processes, to
So
me. And if there is a creator or a intelligent agent behind the creation, then I need to see a little more evidence than just anecdotal evidence.
the way I look at it is that so for God, yeah, I don't believe that there's going to be any evidence which shows that there is like a 100% probability that He does exist. Because I feel like if there was, then everyone would be a theist. And it's like, wait, if I ask you, can you like prove to me that Santa that isn't in the earth or whatever, like you know that he doesn't exist, like even though you can't prove it, it's kind of obvious that he doesn't exist. And the same way, and that's how I look at God as well. I don't believe like everything in the earth just came out to be by chance. I believe that something caused it, and to me, it just makes sense that it's a God. But if atheists just don't believe that that everything just like came by chance or whatever, and they believe that the evolution or whatever just explains it, then I can't really change your mind. But yeah, That's just
Yeah,
basically
I
how.
understand. No, I understand. It does appear as if everything is designed. It does appear that way, right? We can look at how the bees pollinate the flowers. Well, that's a wonderful design, right? If it wasn't for the bees, then flowers wouldn't be able to pollinate and trees and there's this symbiotic relationship that appears to be intentional.
Yeah.
But when you can step back and not have that presupposition and just observe how bees evolved. I mean, bees didn't just pop into existence like we observe them today, right? They had their own long evolutionary path that led them to have this symbiotic relationship with the flowers and the trees and other things that they pollinate. And those trees and flowers realize that they can benefit from this behavior from another species that they exist with. And through a very long series of adaptation, it it appears that these species coexisted and had this symbiotic relationship that has not always been there.
So so wait, do
Yeah.
you actually think that it's like dishonest for a person to think that everything was caused by a god? Like, do you think that's not a good reason to believe in a god?
Well, I don't think it's dishonest. I think people make mistakes. People become convinced for bad reasons, with good intentions. You know, it's not it's. I might say something that sounds triggering, but I don't mean it to be.
Yeah, it's fine. Just
It's
say whatever you're saying.
it's not your parents' fault that they lied to you. They were lied to as well. And I don't mean you specifically. I don't know your
It's fine. It's fine.
particular
Yeah.
history, right? But I was told things that weren't true
Yeah.
because my parents intentionally lied to me about Santa Claus or the Easter
Yeah.
Bunny or the Tooth Fairy, right? But that's an
Yeah.
important part of growing up as a child. When you reach the age of reason, which is usually between, I don't know, 10 and 15 depending on the person. When you reach that age of reason and you can examine the evidence against the claim and say, "Well, wait a minute. This math doesn't add up. Why are you putting the presents in my Christmas stocking? Or why are you putting the dollar bill under my pillow and not the tooth fairy? What do you mean you've been lying to me? My whole world's upside down now." And it causes critical thinking. That's a really important part of human development, reaching the age of reason. The problem with religion, typically, not always, but typically, is that they indoctrinate children before the age of reason, and their minds are physically altered. Their mental pathways are physically changed to understand, to believe that God exists, and setting that presupposition aside and examining the facts of reality is a very hard thing for some people to do. So it's not disingenuous. It's not intentionally misleading. It's just part of the human experience.
Uh, Thanks for asking my question, but yeah, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, well, thanks for hopping in. I appreciate you. Be well. Chelsea is here. And she disappeared. Oh no. Her internet is poopy sometimes. I'm going to bring her in as soon as she can.
Hello,
Hi, how are you today? What's on your mind?
I'm good. Actually, I've tried a lot to get on your live and talk to you, but it's always busy. MashaAllah, I hope it stay busy.
Well,
Yeah,
thanks for
so
trying, and I'm very glad you're with us now.
yeah, what I'm saying is, I always had the question that when was the thing that happened to you that you decided to be like atheist or not believer?
Yeah, sure. I like that. I like telling the story. I was blessed with a couple of parents that were non-believers, and I use the word blessed ironically.
I get it.
Because because I was never indoctrinated, it allowed me to question all of the religious stories. So I did a lot of reading as a kid. When I was interested in figuring it out, I looked heavily into Eastern religions like Buddhism. I looked into Christianity. I prayed to God. I learned the difference between Judaism and Christianity. I had a loose understanding of Sikhism and other Hinduism. I read parts of the Bhagavad Gita, and none of it really jived with me. None of it really made sense, except
Try to
for
read about Islam.
not until I was adult. After I figured out that
So it's hard to,
all
yeah, it's hard for you to accept it at the moment.
I've read parts of the Quran. I have, and I admit that I cherry picked parts, you know, the worst, nastiest parts, and try to highlight the absurdity in the
All of
Quran.
us do that.
Yeah, and yeah, so I want to wrap up my answer real quick, and then ask you some questions about Islam, if that's okay.
Okay, no problem.
When I was about 16, I was working at a retail store that sold all of the religious books. I mean all of the religious books, crystals and tarot cards and
Nice.
all sorts of voodoo stuff, right? And there was this woman named Barbara who would come in and do hand readings and tarot card readings and things like that. And she was very charismatic, a wonderful, kind person that I liked talking to. And as one of the employees, we were allowed to sit down with her and have her read our skull or tarot cards or whatever. So I sat down with her for a tarot card reading, and I was fascinated. I wanted to understand the usefulness of tarot. So I bought the book, and I bought the bags, and I bought the how-to book, and the cards, I bought the cards as well. And by chapter 2, I realized that this was a bunch of crap. This was a series of Barnum statements, learning how to cold read people. And that was kind of the moment that it put all religions into a perspective for me. It's all a series of wishful thinking, Barnum statements. It attempts to have moral guidance, but I can show you all kinds of horrific moral teachings in any of the holy books and say this is not the work of an all-loving God. This is something completely different.
I agree.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. From what I know, Muslims or people of the Islamic faith are encouraged to study other religions.
Yeah, true.
Is that the case
True.
for you? Yeah. Can you talk about
Actually,
that a little bit?
actually, I had a pretty, let's say, complicated childhood trying to decide what religion should I choose, because my mom was an Orthodox Christian and my dad was a Muslim. So I always had the debate to choose, like, mom is better or dad is better. And it was obviously me choosing mom because she gives me more money than dad.
I'm gonna bring Chelsea in to join us. I hope you're okay with that.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. It's your life.
Hey,
Yeah.
Bright, your face is cut off for everybody else until you go live with you. So for us, it's fine, but in like just to join, half of your face is cut off, and like I'm not
Oh,
sure
that's
what that is
interesting.
about. But when I get to you
Oh,
directly,
I see him
okay.
fine. Like, I used to see
no,
him
so
fine
do I.
before I joined.
So did I. As soon as I popped in on you, it was totally fine. But like half of your face is cut off a little bit.
Interesting. I'm just gonna switch it to grid view
Yeah, that works.
And then go back, and maybe that will fix it.
I'm not totally sure. You'd have to ask the chat.
All right, chat. Is my head still chopped off?
I guess it's okay.
It
I don't know.
appears good on my computer screen too.
Some of the comments saying that it's half.
What
Someone
does
said it's fixed. Someone said it's
No,
fixed.
no. So,
You.
yeah, the
No,
still
still
majority
half?
half.
says, yeah, the majority says that you're good.
So just
Okay.
scooch over a couple centimeters, my friend.
There, I'll just go in the center.
Ta-da.
Now I'm the center of attention.
Yeah, you're like the real deal.
Hop over the bulb, dude.
Oh yeah, I could go right in the middle.
Ta-da.
You're God at the moment. You can't do that.
All right, we digress. Thank you, Chelsea.
You are the center of the universe, my friend.
We're all the center of our own universe, aren't we? Has anyone here not had the thought that maybe I'm the star of the movie and the whole world revolves around me? We all have that thought as a child. I think that's a normal part of our trying to understand the world. And then
Yeah,
hopefully you realize that you're not the center. The whole world revolves around everyone else. It's a big mixed soup. The
yeah,
So
Truman
but
Show. Yeah, exactly, like the Truman Show. I'm sorry to keep interrupting. Please
yeah, no
continue your
problem, no
story.
problem. But the thing is, I had these thoughts. I always had it in my mind that the God should be one, all-knowing, all-powerful, self-sufficient. He have to be like the strongest thing. He have to be the center of everything. He have to be one. So that's why I kind of didn't accept Christianity because of the Trinity thing. Yeah, it didn't just. I didn't see it like right. It can't be like three, and the three is still one. It's corrupted. No, that's not really.
So besides Christianity, what other religions did you dive into? Like, did you
Judaism,
look in?
no, not really.
Okay,
I did.
Hinduism.
I did read, and I read a lot, but not specifically about one religion. So I can't really say I read about this or that. But I read a lot about beliefs. I
Yeah,
used to like the apocalypse a lot when I used to be like 17 and 16. So I used to read about religions that talk about the apocalypse.
the
And
end
so,
times. It's
yeah,
exciting, isn't it?
yeah, I like this idea that I have to survive. And, like a kid, like any normal teenager.
Yep.
Yeah, but after I grown up, I studied, I went to the military, and after I finished it, I studied sociology. After I finished sociology, I started, I was like part of atheist, you can say. I didn't believe in anything at the moment. But it's like not believing, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's not me thing. It's not for me to read about. So yeah, I don't care. So I kept studying sociology, communism, these things. Yeah, so I used to be like half communist in my like early 20s. So I used to like communism a lot. And after
Do you
that,
mind
when
if
I,
I ask what country did you grow up in?
I grew up in two countries, Russia and Palestine,
Okay, interesting.
because my mom is Russian and my dad is Palestinian. So it's a weird mix, Arab Russian.
Hey, love knows no boundaries, right?
Yeah. So
That's
my
fascinating.
my dad studied in the USSR back
Uh
in the
huh.
time. So he really taught me a lot about communism. Maybe that's the reason I liked it when I was in my
Yeah.
early 20s. And after that, when I became a little bit older, I started reading about Islam.
Mm-hmm.
It's my religion at the moment. And I like the ideas because I went to the military, so I'm a very disciplined man, and my father too. So I like the commands, the rules that I have to this you can't do this, you can't do that. I like to be always commanded and watched. So I like the idea that God always watches me and knows whatever I do. So I can't hide anything. After the idea got into my head, I went to Islam, and it does match the image that I have for God, like one God, self-sufficient, all-knowing, all-powerful, and He's the center of everything. He knows, and He's capable of doing anything. The idea just shocked me, and I liked it.
Do you think do you think that do you think it's true? Do you think that God actually exists, or do you just like the idea so that you have some kind of compass to navigate through life?
As a Muslim at the moment, I believe God do exist. I'm a religious
Okay.
man at the moment.
And do you think it's do you think it's equally as possible that you've convinced yourself that this God is real and that maybe it is just a way to guide your life?
At the beginning, yes, I could agree that I said that to
Yeah.
myself. But after you get the idea and you read a lot about it and it becomes part of your life, it becomes like it's more of faith than evidence, to be honest. I can't prove that God exists.
Yeah.
And
And
nobody,
do you think that faith is a reliable path to the truth?
yes, because I believe that when I believe in Islam, I feel comfortable, I feel calmed down, I have a good life system. That's more than enough to make me like comfortable with my religion. But the problem is I have with religions that I don't like the idea because I believe in something that the other guy is wrong. Because I'm not God to judge him. I can't judge him.
Right. Well, all religions can't all be right, right? Like Hinduism, are Hindus right or are they mistaken? What do you think about the difference between religions?
I don't know much about them, but as far as I know, they like worship the cows.
So maybe Hinduism isn't a good example, but Hinduism is it's a radically different religion from the Abrahamic religions.
I like Mahatma
Brahmin,
Gandhi, so
yeah, right. There are some very famous and good moral teachers like Gandhi. But Hinduism is it's a polytheistic religion, so they basically have a god for everything. They have a creator god named Brahman. They have a destroyer god named Shiva. They have gods of love, gods of lust, gods of
do they fight?
literally pretty much everything. It's a long, complicated story that I really don't know much about. But the reason I'm bringing Hinduism into the spotlight is because it's so fundamentally different from the Abrahamic religions,
Yeah, it's much
like
different. True.
Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are all stemmed off of the same original set of texts, right?
True.
They
True.
are cousins with each other. It's a
True.
progression. And because Hinduism is so fundamentally different, I wonder if you, as a Muslim, think that those Hindus are equally valid or true in their understandings of their creator and destroyer gods and gods of love and gods of lust and gods of hate and gods of trickery, right? Are
I'm
they just fundamentally wrong or can they be right as well as you?
I'm gonna be honest with you. Look,
I,
from a
I don't
Muslim,
want you to do anything else but be honest, please.
yeah, okay. From if the answer from an Islamic perspective that they are wrong because they don't believe in a one God and the basics of Islam that you have to believe in one only God. So they have multiple gods, so they're wrong. But from my perspective, I believe in one God. But I really don't like to prove that anyone is mistaken or something.
What makes you think that you are correct, though?
It's faith, just faith,
Right,
Yeah.
but like, where does that come from?
from my heart.
Where does that?
I'm being honest. I'm
I
not
guess
gonna tell you that
I
I
guess where
had
the question
dreams and
is
I had
not where does it
experience.
come
No.
from? Where does it stem from? Like
What is it? What?
where does your faith? Where did your faith begin? What caused that faith?
Reading about the religion, it does match my thoughts. It does give me the feeling that I want to have when I say I believe in this. I really believe.
So
I'm comfortable with it.
go ahead.
Like when you have this belief that there is no God, you can't prove it. You become really comfortable that there is no God for real. And for
Right.
me,
So
I believe that there is a God. I'm really comfortable that there is a God and He will judge me upon my actions. And I'm really
yeah.
totally chill with that.
So those Hindus or those Jews or those Christians that aren't practicing the same faith as you, they also have faith, and I have I think that anyone can believe anything through faith. Maybe
True.
we should define faith first. How do you define the word faith?
From a Muslim perspective or from my perspective?
From your perspective, how do
From
you
my
apply
perspective,
faith?
faith is supposedly to believe in something that do not physically exist.
Okay, we can work with that. Yeah,
Because if it physically exists, it do not need faith to believe in it because it can be
bingo,
depending on evidence. But God,
bingo,
you can't
yes.
prove him with evidence. Even if you try, even if I give you evidence, and even if it's true, you're not going to take it.
So what if I told you that I use faith to know that white cats are better than black cats? And
It's
I
your
believe
opinion.
that.
You're totally cool about it.
No, I use faith. I don't have evidence. I know that it's true because I have faith. Is my point still valid?
Maybe the point about feeling that black cats or white cats, who's better, maybe it's not a valid point, but the point that you use faith for it because you don't have a physical evidence, yeah, it's a valid thing.
See, I can believe anything on faith, and because I can
Exactly.
believe
That's
anything
the
on
point of
faith,
faith.
that's the reason why I believe that faith is a failed epistemology. It's not useful. It is not a path towards truth.
I agree with you.
Good. I'm glad you agree with me.
I
So
agree
let me
because
ask you again,
faith is not
why
upon
use
evidence.
faith? Why use faith if we agree that it's not reliable?
Yeah, it's not reliable if you don't believe it's enough. That's my opinion. But if you believe like faith is enough for you, like for me, faith is more than enough for me to make me like I believe and comfortable with it. It's more than enough. I don't need like physical evidence. Even though I can have it in Islam, we do have some evidence, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna try to. It's for us to be convinced, not for you.
Can I run through another thought experiment real quick?
Yeah, no problem.
I'll use my box of Triscuits. Do you ever had Triscuits before?
We don't have this in my country.
Well, they're little crackers. You know, they got
Yeah,
salts and
crackers.
herbs
We
and
have
stuff on
crackers,
them.
but
Yeah.
not maybe not
So
this brand.
so inside this box of Triscuits are a number of Triscuits, right? Let's assume that they are all whole crackers and they're not broken into little pieces, right? So we're using whole crackers in this thought experiment. I mean, you can hear them rattling around in there, right? So what if I told you that I know through faith that there are 36 crackers left in this box? Would you believe me?
You can use evidence for that. You don't need faith.
Right. But we don't know how many crackers are in the box yet, right?
We
How would we
could know.
determine? We
We
could know.
could
That's
know.
right. How could
Yeah,
we
because
determine
we
that?
can know the weight of the whole box, and we can delete the weight of the empty box, and we know the weight of every single cracker. Then we weight a 60, how many weight, and
Yeah.
we like apply it on numbers. Then we know how many crackers.
Right, but now we're
We can use
talking
math for
about
that. We don't need faith.
right, but we're talking about gods now, and we can't count, right? We can't weigh God. We can't put God in a jar or on a scale.
True.
So, how is it reasonable to use faith to determine that there are 36 crackers in the box without being able to weigh the crackers or count the crackers, right? How do you get to knowledge through faith?
Just through faith, you mean?
Yeah.
You don't get knowledge. You can't know through faith how many crackers in the box.
Okay, final question before I get to the next guest. Do you agree with me when I say it's important to believe and accept as many true claims as possible while rejecting as many false claims as possible?
Can you repeat again? I'm sorry, I lost.
Yeah. So I believe that it's important to accept as many true claims as possible while also rejecting as many false claims or untrue claims as possible.
I agree, but not 100%.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time in this conversation. I think it's been fun.
Thank you too. See you later.
Think about these questions and come back. Maybe you'll convince me, or maybe we can explore the usefulness of faith a little more later. Thanks again.
Okay.
I gave you a little something.
Oh yeah, where on Discord?
I gave it to you on your phone. If you want it on Discord, I can. If it didn't get sent.
1 sec. I'll go check.
Oh, whoever sent me the coin, thanks.
Oh, that's a good one. All
I
right, so
know.
last night Chelsea was asking me questions like, what kind of words can I put into this AI generator? And I first said, well, among other things, I said sneakers and wings, like Pegasus wings, but for a giraffe. So it's a giraffesis.
Giraffesis.
I introduce to everyone the giraffesis
I kind of
with
want to.
sneakers.
I want to talk. Yeah, I know. I love it. I kind of want to talk to the chat and see if everybody what they would think about like if Lisa started an Etsy.
Yeah,
I
let's
kind of
do
want to
that
know.
right up. All right, we've got another guest coming in.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that immediately after. Hello. Oh, you're muted. You have muted yourself. Basically, Bick
Yeah,
Jesus,
I'm muted
or
up. Just I try not to come in the room with the back.
yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. So, what's on your mind?
Oh
Oh, they
no.
disappeared. Oh no. That looks like a good NFT. All right, perfect segue. So I suggested to Chelsea that she start an Etsy account and sell some digital content for anyone who's willing to, throw a few shekels her way for her amazing artwork.
I spent way too much time trying to communicate with this thing. Like, ugh.
And he's gone. Yeah, I don't know what happened. He just evaporated into the ether. But we have Reuven Claim. Hello, welcome. What's on your mind?
Hey, it's Rubenheim, but you can just go by Ruben. It's fine.
Reuvenheim. All right. My apologies. What's on
Yeah,
your
no
mind
problem.
today?
I'm actually, I know Mohammed from other lives. I was listening. You were talking to him, and it was interesting conversation. But I'm I'm actually curious, like, because I see these conversations a lot, where that people who don't believe in God try to use epistemology to like try to break down the belief system and you know kind of try to prove that your belief is silly and whatever. And like I have my beliefs, and I generally never worried about what other people believe in and try to like disprove them and say, oh, your beliefs are wrong, what are you doing, whatever. So I'm curious because I see this a lot. Like, what is the point? Like, why does it matter to you to destroy the belief of another person?
Yeah, great question. Thanks for asking. We share this world together. We have to take care of it, and we have to take care of each other. And in my observation, I see a tremendous amount of harm being done to my cousins, my fellow humans, through religious practices that I think are completely avoidable, unnecessary, and damaging and hurtful, harmful to the these religions are behaving to the detriment of humanity. I think it's a force of I don't really like using the word evil because I don't believe in evil, but I think some actions, some behaviors are incredibly harmful. For example, the permanent non-reversible genital mutilation of infants, male and female, which is an almost entirely religious practice, or passing legislation like in the United States that makes health care illegal for half of the population. Well, to everyone that owns a uterus. And there are further pieces of legislation that's trying to be promoted by religious think tanks and organizations that would make at-will marriage against the law, or the use of contraceptives against the law. There is a long, bloody, torturous history of religious violence, oppression, and terrible, terrible behaviors. And I don't think that atheism is necessarily the answer, but that's where I fall when it comes to the God question. I don't believe in a God, but that's just the answer to that question. The reason I like having these conversations is to try to show people, to illustrate how to apply critical thinking, skepticism, rationality, and using tools of logic like Occam's razor and pointing out logical fallacies to religious claims and asking the hard questions like, do you believe that faith is a reasonable path to truth? And through a very simple logical exercise, we can demonstrate that it's not. So, what do you think? Thank you for the hand hearts, by the way. Much appreciated. Are you still there? You're muted. Oh no, they disappeared. I didn't touch anything.
It may have been the irrefutable child genital mutilation, because that is an exclusively religious practice. I can't see a
Oh.
reason outside of religion that people would do that other than abuse. Like,
No, they're back. I guess
oh,
his
okay.
internet. Oh, is that you? I'm sorry. We have a guest. Are you the same guy? I'm sorry, I can't
No,
remember.
no, I'm not.
Nope, definitely not.
Okay.
I'm
They
actually new. How
disappeared.
are you guys?
I'm very good. How are you
Good.
today?
Good, good.
Oh, hey, can I ask you to? You can hang out here. Just meet yourself. Our last guest is back. I'm gonna bring him in. I really want to hear what his reaction is, if that's okay with you.
Awesome, awesome. Go for it.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, sorry. Every
It's
time I
all
get a
good.
phone call, it drops me and gives me crazy echo. So I had to
Yeah,
restart.
I'm glad that's what it is, and the app didn't boot you for some reason. So,
All
do
right.
you
Yeah,
want me to
I heard.
repeat anything,
No,
or
I
what's your
heard
response?
99% of what you said,
Okay.
except for like the last minute the last few seconds. So I agree with a lot of things you said.
Yep.
The some things I don't agree, because I kind of take a path more of like people's implementation of their belief versus the actual source material. And a lot of stuff I believe is misinterpretation, and we would be much better served by showing people how they're misinterpreting and misapplying their religion versus just telling that their religion is false. Like, for example, I'll give you my background. I was born and grew up in USSR, right, in Ukraine. So my I come from many generations of religious family. In USSR, USSR was an atheist country. Obviously, we're not gonna argue about that part, right? They
Well,
had
secular, right? I would say
no,
secular. Like,
they were promoting atheism. I mean, I went to school there. This was taught. The religion was
interesting.
opiate for the masses. The religion was the most evil thing that you could have. It was
Wow.
outlawed. People of any religious background, if they were any type of clergy, they were arrested and sent to gulags. Like people were massacred and
Well, that's
eliminated
terrible.
for being religious, my grandfather including being one of them. So religion was really, and should I blame every atheist for this? No, it's and misapplying idea, right? So this is how I see everything else, including things you mentioned. And personally, being libertarian, I don't believe any legislation should apply to anything, especially religion based. Like, we should not use legislation to push religion on people in any way, or any beliefs, let's put it this way. So we're in agreement there, but I think having these what you're doing would be a much better done if you would just go into the source material and say, hey, you're saying that this marriage is not allowed. Well, show me in your text where it says this. Like, you're going against your own religion when you're claiming these, and when you're pushing for these red legislations. This is a much better argument without destroying people's spiritual connection, because most of the time people can connect to God because it's something missing in their life, and it helps them be more stable. When you take that away from them, the stability goes away, and maybe it's actually going to make them into a worse person.
I think you're missing a fundamental part where most people are born into religion and they don't have a choice but to be religious. They
Yeah,
don't
I'm
they don't
I'm not
come to religion
disagreeing
on
with
their
that.
right,
I'm,
but they don't come to religion on their own. Most people are born into religion and continue to be religious because they're indoctrinated into religion. They have been born into something where they are taught how to be this way. Their neural
oh,
pathways have been developed and grown into a place where they are almost forced to think this way. They aren't taught any other way how to think. And until the age of critical thinking, where they can start to critically think, they don't develop the tools to learn for themselves. So if your whole life you're taught that there is no other way, and breaking from tradition, which is tragic and very hard for people because there is an emotional connection, there is a family connection, there is a traditional connection that people hold very closely to. But it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it correct. It
I
doesn't
think
mean
I
it's
was one of those.
yeah, it's really hard for people because it's not the people who raised you's fault for misinforming you because it's a good chance that they were misinformed as a child and their parents were misinformed. Like
Can I
it
speak in that behalf, though?
Sorry,
yes,
one
please.
second. No, I'm actually curious because I don't see disagreement with what you're saying, but I don't connect what you're saying to what I said.
You said people come to religion and need religion and it fills a hole in their life. But people are almost forced into religion as a child or and they are brought there and raised into religion. But if
Some people.
right, but most people start religion as a child. Taking religion from their life doesn't mean that there is a gap that's missing. If it was never there in the first place, they like Brian and I grew up completely without religion. Brian, do you feel a gap?
No. And my
I
next
don't
question was,
either.
do you believe that God is truly real? Like is there a way to prove their existence, or is it just through faith and faith alone, or your personal anecdotal feelings, your emotional response that convinces you that God is real? Where do you stand on the big question?
Yeah, I can answer that. Let me just address one guy in the comments. The original something cats. He's claiming that I'm lying about Soviet Union because Russian Constitution doesn't have, I mean, has freedom of religion. I mean, first of all, if you want, you can always talk to me and ask these questions. You don't have to claim that I'm lying. I
Not
was
only
born
that,
in
but
1975 in Soviet Union. Maybe Russian Constitution has something about it, but you know, you could go look at North Korean Constitution. It calls it Democratic Republic of North Korea. It's neither democratic nor republic.
I was
Their constitution has freedom of speech and everything else. This doesn't mean anything. And you know, я могу с тобой
Right.
по-русски
yeah.
говорить, если ты не веришь, что я из России. Пожалуйста, можно так делать. But we can continue this conversation. I don't have a reason to make up stories. Uh,
I was like,
so
so hold on. Someone said just because Russia has been lying about information for years and years and years, and their lies have caused hundreds of problems, if not some of the biggest problems.
Well, the United States lies too. Don't get
Oh
it
yeah,
no,
twisted.
everyone does.
But
every
yeah,
government
Every
lies.
country's
To
like
say
that.
that they don't is ignorance. But to think
yeah.
that just because something on Google says that it isn't there, figure it out. Like go look in a book. I don't know. Just don't Google it.
Right. I have no reason to not believe you when you told us your family history. I have no way to prove nor disprove it, so I'm going to take that kind of claim on face value. But when it comes to how do we conduct ourselves in the world? How do we write laws to make things better and not worse for each other? The question of religion plays a large point in that. And I think that the communist country of USSR had an idea that maybe getting rid of religion would solve a lot of their problems, but they went about it in a horrific way. That just illustrates the abuse of authoritative power. And I don't believe that the USSR was ever communist. That was an authoritarian country that claims to be communist, just like North Korea claims to be a democratic people's republic. Doesn't make it true.
Yeah,
So I want to just ignore all that for a moment and get down to the big
I agree.
question. Like, how do you determine God's existence, and is it reasonable to believe?
So my religion is Judaism. I would consider myself you know, Judaism has many groups also, just like any other religion. So
Oh, for
uh,
sure.
I would be a modern Orthodox, but the subgroup of that would be called the rational Judaism. So in rational Judaism, we try to apply as much logical, scientific, historical, anthropological, every approach to it. So try to understand it more than just reading plain text and taking it at face value. Right. So the belief in God that I have is that God is it's the originator of everything, right? It's something that exists outside of the universe.
Space time.
Yeah, it's the above nature, above everything force that was, that was the beginning of everything, and it gave us set of morals and laws internally and inside of us, I guess we could say, but also try to civilize the ancient society with some way, and maybe was misinterpreted because you only have a human limited mind in order to to perceive it, right? Plus it's written in a language over 3,000 years ago, and we know how languages evolve, and then when you try to read it now, it might mean completely different thing that it meant back then. But in a way, majority of it is, to me, nowadays, aside from having these specific laws that kind of help navigate life in a way to be more, uh, I guess, more, trying to think of how to say it right, focused towards justice and truth in the world and trying to make the world a better place. That would be what I see the goals of my belief. And like the picture I have on my screen is the guy Maimonides. I don't know if you ever heard of him. It was an ancient philosopher, doctor, and so on, and a famous Jewish religious scholar. So Maimonides, he has the one phrase that I really like. He said that learning science is love of God, and so
It's poetic. I get it, but I just see, like you mentioned, the text was written 3,000 years ago, give or take, and language changes over time. I think that is further evidence that it's all made up. Because if God wanted to communicate with us in a way that could not be misinterpreted, why leave it to the Iron Age scholars at the time who had a very loose understanding of basic algebra, right? Let alone trigonometry or astrophysics or the so you leave it to scholars thousands of years ago to write texts that have been abused, manipulated, changed, altered, translated, retranslated, 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 and somehow expect a person like me to accept those claims as anything other than people in the past trying to quantify their moral values and judgment, and they got some things horrifically wrong. Like I was just talking about earlier, why on earth should anyone ever believe that a circumcision is a covenant with God? It's a terrible, dangerous practice that is unnecessary, yet people still do it to males and females for no good reason other than the book tells them to do it.
So, by the way, the female circumcision is not in any book. That's a tribal practice of specific region that is not endorsed
But
by
please,
any.
would you agree?
I agree 100% that it's
But
unnecessary.
would you agree with me that it wouldn't be done had it not been for religion?
I don't know. I don't know any religion that forces female circumcision. Now,
Guess
we can
what?
talk about male circumcision.
But you
That's a
just said
They
separate thing.
that
exist.
it's a tribal thing. It's the tribal religious practice.
Right.
Well, but what I'm just trying to clarify, because many times I hear claims that Islam requires female circumcision, what it
No.
doesn't.
We are talking. There are several African tribes
Yeah.
throughout Africa that require a child under the age of 2, a female child under the age of 2, for female circumcision.
Yeah, I agree, and that's horrible practice and shouldn't exist.
So what
And
is the
it,
difference? What is the difference between a
right.
female and a male child?
Well, I'm a male. I had circumcision. I don't find myself mutilated. So
Right, because it's been normalized. But what is the difference between a female child and a male child?
the difference in the outcome of the circumcision.
No. What is the difference
Yeah, there
between a
is a
female
difference in
child
the
and a male
outcome.
child?
The female circumcision leads to removing the enjoyal of sex, where male circumcision doesn't do that. So it's
That
a
is
big
not
difference.
true. That is not true. It removes quite a bit, actually, of sensitivity and nerve
It
endings.
does not.
It okay.
There's a lot of biological studies on this. The fact of the matter is that it does decrease sensitivity, and it also increases the chance of unnecessary infections that lead to further permanent damage or the end of life. Let's have a moment of silence to recognize all of the infant children that have left this mortal realm because of an unnecessary religious practice of genital mutilation. Let's just have a moment of silence to recognize them. And now hopefully we can learn from this and stop this terrible practice and lose fewer children to an unnecessary, horrific, irreversible form of genital mutilation to infants. Again, if the child reaches the age of reason and wants to perform something like that, just like getting your ears pierced or a lip ring or a tattoo, we have rules for these kinds of behaviors, right? Usually we have a legal age, the age of legal consent or legal consent. But I want children to at least reach the age of reason to say, what are you talking about? You want to snip that? No way. Are you kidding? I like it the way it is. Thank you very much. Do I want
Can
to
I
put myself
respond?
in harm's way for an infection that's not necessary? Well, I think I know what you're going to say. It's better to do it when they're young, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a terrible, terrible excuse. I do not. Why? All right. What if this? What if the Holy Book said, every second child shall walk in darkness, and then we had a religious practice that plucks the eyeballs out of infants? It's better to do it young, and the book says, every second child
That
shall
would be
walk in
injustice.
darkness.
That would be injustice.
Right,
And
but
why is
right, but
circumcision not
Because
injustice?
circumcision does not harm.
it does, in
Okay,
fact.
it,
Several
it
children
does.
pass away every year. The fact that it has been normalized does not make it right. The fact that a religious practice has been justified does not make it moral. It's the problem is that the most moral people that consider themselves justified have been convinced to do some of the most heinous things on the planet.
Okay. We can have comparative analysis of different studies done by different groups, whether or not it's harmful. There's just as many studies that claim that circumcision is beneficial as there's studies that claim that it's bad. So that's not the point.
There is
It's going to be agree to disagree
there is
topic.
not a
Hold
single
on.
study that says that it is beneficial, that
There's
is not
plenty of
Ac-
it.
done by some kind
Actually,
of
there
religious.
there are no, there are, but then you realize that it's completely, almost universally, the religious people that are
Well, I was just going
making
to say
those
that
studies and
isn't
coming to
done
that.
by a
And
religious
who's making the
group.
other studies? Every
Right,
study is biased. If you're going to claim bias, you got to look
physicians,
at both of them.
Right, but
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say.
but
There
physicians.
is
but what
no.
religion are those physicians?
All right,
Does it matter?
Yes.
how do you justify the end of an infant's life because of a infection
I
that
don't.
was
That's
caused?
horrible.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
Bingo.
that's but you know, having a
That's it.
negative side effect. Hold on. If you have a negative side effect to this procedure, should we ban every procedure? Because every procedure could lead to a negative side effect.
Right, but the
I'm
child
talking.
isn't getting to make that decision for themselves.
Right. If a child has a heart problem and that problem is reversible, if it's correctable, then yes, there is an obvious, reasonable amount of danger that that child should be subjected to if the medical professionals can save that child's life, or if they have, like, think of what's it called? Siamese twins. I know there are better names for it, but when twins are conjoined, physically conjoined, yes, there's always a danger of the separation, but it is a necessary risk if the parents and if the child have an opportunity to correct a flaw in the development, but I'm talking about normal, healthy baby boys and baby girls and everything in between that are being subject to this completely avoidable, not necessary, irreversible genital mutilation.
Well, we disagree on unnecessary part
But why is it necessary?
because it's a part of the commandment.
Yes, that's my point. It's not necessary because the commandment is dumb. The
We don't
commandment is
understand every one of
stupid.
them. Well, it's your opinion that it's dumb and stupid.
Yeah. And I will stand by it 1,000%.
Okay, I don't have a
That
problem
commandment
with
is
that.
dumb and stupid and harmful. It's harmful, it's detrimental, and it gets people killed, unalived, maimed, damaged, broken, and it's completely avoidable.
Okay, well, there's many other issues just like that you would probably stand by and not disagree, and it would be just
Such as what?
Okay, let's look at it this way. Do you support freedom of choice in abortion? I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can have a moral disagreement with that. Now, I remember I'm saying moral because I don't want any legislation involved in that. I'm with you on that 100%. I don't want government involved in anything
Yep.
with that. But
Yep.
from moral perspective, in the case when it doesn't involve SA or incest or or mother's health or anything like that, where it's done for frivolous reasons, I find it 100% immoral, and I want that to
So it's so
stop from.
crazy
Hold
that
on, let me finish
it's
speaking,
so
please.
crazy that you think that
Can you
something
let
like
me
that would
finish, please?
ever be frivolous though. Have you
Yeah,
ever
yeah,
spoken
well,
to a woman who has had
Yes,
something like that done?
I've spoken to a woman.
No, have you ever spoken to a woman that has had something like that done? Nothing like that is ever done frivolously. It is something that is long thought out and it is a grueling decision. Nothing like that is ever done quick fix in a moment.
You're going to claim that every single case is always done as a worst case scenario?
No, I'm telling you, it is not something that is made lightly. There is no woman on this planet that has ever made that kind of decision, walking into a doctor's office knowing the kind of pain she's going to go through lightly.
Yeah, but that ends the life of a child, right?
No,
No, it doesn't.
it
no, it's
terminates a
not a
pregnancy.
child.
Okay,
It
that's the
is a
same thing.
group
You're just
of
using
cells
different
that
language.
feels nothing. It
Not
has
the same
no
thing.
brain. It has no nerve endings. It feels
It has
nothing.
potential to have all that if you don't interfere, right?
And a seed has the potential to be a watermelon, and if it doesn't grow, it's not a watermelon.
Once it's already been fertilized, it's already in the stomach, it's already
Right, but
growing.
once a seed starts to grow, it is still not yet a watermelon.
Okay. We need to cut to the chase here.
I'm just showing you. I
The
wasn't.
same. So
Yeah.
it's the same justification. It all comes down to the bodily autonomy of the person. We're talking about people that are born, right? The infant has been born. Now we're talking about the infant's bodily autonomy to irreversible procedures that are unnecessary, and also comparing that to the bodily autonomy of the person who is pregnant. I do not grant special rights. I don't believe anyone should grant special rights to a fetus while ignoring the bodily autonomy and rights of the person that's pregnant. The person who is pregnant should always have complete control over who gets to exist in their body with no government oversight. Right? If they choose to end a pregnancy at any point in their pregnancy, I believe that they should have the freedom, the liberty to do that, to terminate a pregnancy. Okay? Most pregnant people who bring a pregnancy into the final trimester are cognizant of that. They are aware of it. They have to make a terrible decision sometimes because of medical complications, right? It's very, very unusual that a pregnant person just on a whim decides to end 7 months of being pregnant.
No,
Typically,
that is the most tragic cases on the planet.
Okay. But
yes,
can I
right.
finish where I was going with this though? Because I was
I
trying to make a
guess.
point. Yeah.
Okay.
So I didn't want this to become an abortion discussion whatsoever. What my point was is to say that right now you guys have the belief that this is based on your belief on what the rights should be whatever should be, and you find this act to be okay, and I find this act to be immoral.
Right, but the difference
Hold
is
on, can I please
Wait,
finish?
let him finish. Please let him finish.
In the reverse of this discussion, you guys find the act of circumcision of boys to be immoral, and I find it, in my belief, to be perfectly moral. That is the difference. It's just the difference of opinions based on our beliefs.
so the difference in beliefs is that we believe that everyone deserves bodily autonomy, and your belief is that no one has that right.
Okay, but it's still based on your belief.
No, it's bodily autonomy. If would you let someone do something to you without your will?
No, okay. Let me ask a
And
different version
does
of
that
bodily
child
autonomy
so
question.
does a child have any less rights than you do?
Do you ask your child to vaccinate them?
Well, a
But it's
vaccination is
necessary for their health.
yeah.
But
So
did you ask their
what
permission?
when you put a child in your vehicle, do you put their seatbelt on?
Yeah, same thing, but it's not same thing because seatbelt is vaccinations can cause harm. There's side effects to vaccinations.
True, that is true. But you know what's even more harmful? The diseases that the vaccinations prevent. So now we're weighing risk factors, right?
Correct,
Yes,
but you
there there
understand
is
that we
there is
believe.
a small amount of, there's actually a non-zero amount of harm that is done with every vaccination. There's also a non-zero risk of catching typhoid, smallpox, polio, all of the diseases that we have eradicated or almost eradicated through the process of vaccination and inoculation. So yes, you have to weigh the risk factors, but when you compare that to the risk factors and the permanent damage done to the nerves of the genitalia of infants, that is a completely unavoidable, not necessary procedure. You're trying to use your religion to justify this practice. Now, please, I understand that this is an emotionally charged issue for you because the procedure was done to you. Guess what? Me too. And
No,
I'm
I
bitter
actually
about it.
volunteered for the procedure. I had it done as an adult.
Well, that's great. I think every adult should have the opportunity to elect to have that procedure done.
Yeah, I
That's
wish
fine.
it could
I
have
have
been
no
done to me
problem.
as a child, but it was illegal when I was a child.
See, I have no problem with adults augmenting their body within reason. Again, now we have to go into reason. Who decides what is reasonable? But when
Just
we're
one second,
talking about,
sorry. This guy
okay,
again in the comments. I think he's obsessed with me, but I'm not anti-vax. I'm fully vaccinated. So is my family and my children. I brought up that as an example of a discussion. People can use examples without being supportive of things. All right, let's go.
I've got some more guests waiting,
Yeah, I mean,
and I'd like to continue this another time. So let's put a pin in it, and I
all right, I
hope
followed
the
you, so I'll see you again. We can talk again.
thank you.
But
I
thank you.
appreciate
Yeah,
this.
thank you
Yep.
for having a good discussion.
Likewise. Thank you.
So if you go into the bottom corner, did you notice where it says like music and stickers and stuff? Come on,
From
Elena, I
left to
think you're
right, I
reading it.
have hosts, guests, interact, share,
Interact.
enhance, and more. Okay, so what about interact? Yeah.
So I think does it say stickers?
Uh, text poll, quick poll, draw, and guess? No,
No.
I don't
All
see
right, try
stickers.
more.
It would be an enhance. There's stickers. I
Oh,
got
okay. So you
stickers.
can type and you could write tap for more views.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I learned a thing.
Oh, that's not the right one.
You could pick anyone you wanted though. And that'll change that'll stay no matter what your background is.
Yeah, cool.
Right?
I'm looking for it. I'm looking for it. Turn on notifications, story time. Oh, they have a story time. Be my guest. Q&A. Where's tap for more views? Yeah, hi everyone.
No,
Please
you have to
be
you have to
patient.
type it yourself. You have to type it yourself. You're gonna have to type it out yourself.
Oh.
So like it says stickers, and then you click on the stickers, and then it'll just be a little bubble.
Yeah, I clicked on the sticker, but I don't see it anywhere on the screen.
I don't know.
All right, I'm gonna bring the next guest in.
Yeah,
I'm
we'll
gonna
play with it later.
I'm gonna f around with this, and let's hear what the next guest has to say.
I love it.
Hello?
Hi, welcome.
Hello.
What's on your minds today?
Hello, hello. Alexa, pause the music. I'm sorry.
Alexa, tap the screen for more views.
She didn't even listen to me. Alexa, pause the music. Okay, good. Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
Yeah, having a good day. How are you?
Good. I'm disappointed. I wanted to talk to the last guy, and I do think it was an interesting discussion that you were having together. I think maybe one of the things, and please keep in mind that I'm an atheist, and I'm not just an atheist. I would say that I'm an avid atheist.
Are you in the realm of anti-theists?
I think much that's wrong with the world today has to do with theology.
Hold on. His Wi-Fi is either terrible or he's glitching.
Yeah, we just had a
Sorry,
little
am I better
audio
now?
itch. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I was just saying that, like, I'm an atheist, and I consider myself to be an avid atheist because I consider much that is wrong with the world has to do with theology. So, like, I'm an atheist. I'm on your team. But I wanted to talk to you about circumcision and the idea that, of course, I don't think that any religious belief is a good reason to mutilate a child. I don't think that circumcision, not being a consensual thing for a kid, I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. So, like, I get what you're saying, and I see where you're coming from. But what I wanted to share was this, though. The reason why I consider myself to be an avid atheist is I do think we should base all of our decisions on science. And what Ken is, I get that there are, just as many scientific studies and research studies done to suggest that there are no benefits to being circumcised as there are studies, research studies that have been done to suggest that there are. So I understand kind of you can use facts to prove either side of your argument. That's not really going anywhere. But I'll tell you that I worked for a long time in sexual health, specifically with men's sexual health. And the risk level for somebody who's uncircumcised to contract an STI or STIs is, and I realize that I'm just giving you anecdotal, this is my experience belief, but is definitely higher, and not just higher, but significantly higher. And the patient or the person is unlikely to be aware of their infection as quickly as someone who is circumcised, which means that their risk level to have a worse infection and their risk level to expose others to their infection is again much higher. Now, the thing is, like, I don't necessarily love the information that I'm telling you because it sort of refutes the idea that we shouldn't circumcise kids. And I get what you're saying. They should have consent, and it is mutilation. Like I'm on your team. But there is a good deal of evidence to suggest that the sexual health of someone is improved by being circumcised. Now, I don't know that alone is a strong enough reason to say that it's a good thing, and I don't know that. And it is more complicated than that too, because there's a huge group of people that exist on planet Earth who, one, coincidentally don't think that you should be circumcised based on their religious beliefs, and two, have no sexual health. They have no understanding of sexual health. They have no understanding of, like, it's not something that's taught within those spaces on Earth. So I'm Canadian. We see a lot of newcomers to Canada. I live in Toronto, and we're worked with a lot of newcomers to Canada. And their understanding of sexual health, in many cases, is basically zero. They know and understand nothing about safe sex or safer sex.
Can I
And
ask
so
you
they're,
something real quick?
again, higher risk for STI. Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to monologue. Like, essentially,
No,
I'm
you're good.
saying...
So,
do
the,
agree
the
with you, but there is a lot of science that actually says, well, there are benefits.
so the thing is that if it's not actually a benefit, it is the
Uh,
lack of information that
Chelsea, speak right into your microphone. You're muffled.
sorry. So it's actually a
That's better.
lack of information that people have been given about sexual health and awareness. It's not that have a higher risk to contract STIs, it's that they are less likely to catch it because they don't know what they're looking for. If no one is
Well,
teaching them and teaching them
I
Yeah, I
about
would say,
these things.
but my
let's
point is
let's
that both
let's
of those things are true.
let's think about the mechanics of it for a minute. When you
Yep,
do
go
the
ahead. Go
deed,
ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
and
Explain the
then
mechanics of it, Brian.
and then the foreskin kind of captures those bodily fluids,
Yes.
it does increase. I understand that
Yes.
it does increase the risk of contracting, but the solution there isn't circumcision. The solution is better sexual education and
Right. That's what yeah. Well, I was gonna say
medication, access to health care. I think the risk of
Yeah. Yeah.
contracting an STD greatly underweighs the risk of gaining an infection as an infant or losing your life as an infant because of a complication or an infection of a completely unnecessarily and completely avoidable, non-reversible alteration to the body
well, not
of the
only that, but
genitalia of an infant.
Right. I listen. I
whether or
get what
not you
you're
have
saying.
a foreskin, sleeping with someone who has the contagion, you still have the
There's
ability
always a
to
risk, right?
right, there's
But
always
he's
a risk, but teaching them about sexual health
Yes.
and teaching people how to protect themselves, I think is more important than
My whole point was
mutilating
just that
kids.
it is both that we need better sexual health, especially for certain demographics of people, for sure. But that force can certainly, maybe an easier way to say it is not only not only am I really confident just based on experience, like on an average day in the clinic we would see anywhere from 60 80 men a day. So my experience in terms of understanding, are you more likely to have an STI and are you more likely to be unaware that you have an STI, is like is I can't give you a number, but it is certainly blatantly more obvious or more possible for somebody who's uncircumcised. And kind of to your point, like the reason why they may not be aware of it is because it is not visible to them, and if it's not causing them any discomfort or concern. And then the only other thing I would say is untreated STIs. Now the thing is uh, this is not how syphilis would present itself symptomatically, because it presents itself as a rash on the body first. So kind of unrelated um, to the circumcision discussion. But untreated STIs can certainly lead to major health problems. Now that is significantly truer for women than it is for men, but it is still true for men. And like latent syphilis or untreated syphilis can lead to insanity and death. So like you know they're they're not they're not little things. Like
right. True.
they have
Yeah,
the
that's.
potentially to be
I hear
very
you.
dangerous. Now again, the STI internal when it comes to a woman's cervix, women are at much much greater risk for long-term complications or continued infections from STIs than men are. But circumcision is like a little version of being inside. So there. Anyway, long-winded. I agree with you. High five. I don't think we should circumcise children, but the idea that there isn't scientific advantages to it is also not true. Like there are.
I hear you, but that's like saying, well, I'll never get foot cancer if I just cut my foot off,
Well,
right?
yes, yeah, yeah.
You can't
Like I,
you can't have depression if I just, remove
yeah,
the head at the neck.
I agree with your point. And the thing is too, it's I'm not suggesting in any way too that just being circumcised like prevents you from getting an STI or is it just means you're statistically less likely to, and you're more likely to be aware of it sooner.
Right.
I
You can
think
just
teach I think teaching people about their bodies and what to look for and how to take care of themselves is really important. Because
Yeah, yeah,
if no
I
one's
don't
teaching them
disagree.
what to look for, you don't know what you're
yeah.
looking at. I mean, and the tragic thing is that there are so many men out there that don't know that women have more than one hole to like, and they pee out of like a separate, like, it's
Right. Yeah.
completely outrageous that our sexual health has been so long without being actually taught to people.
Oh,
Like they're
you're singing to the choir. Like
oh
I would have pregnant couples come in who want the pregnancy or excited about the pregnancy, but they are there to get birth control because they think birth control is the same as prenatal medication.
shut
Like
up,
their understanding
shut up.
of how basically sex works is like astounding. Now, of
Have you
course,
seen
depending on
Have you seen there's a new TV show and she's talking about like he's like, well, how are you gonna pee if the baby's like coming out or whatever? Like if the baby's
oh
getting
my
in the way, how are you
god,
gonna pee? And the doctor is like drawing a diagram and she goes, you see this one down here? This is where you've been, my friend, and this is where I'll be. And is where up here is where underneath the hood he's like, well, what's that thing? And she goes, oh, you poor dear. Like,
oh my god, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
oh yeah.
But
It
the thing
comes
is,
down to
like
it just comes down to education, right?
it,
Education.
And it really makes my blood boil when people say, "Oh, well, you need to do this to your child because it's a covenant with God." Excuse me.
yes, okay.
Prove God exists first, and then they're a reasonable candidate explanation for any kind of covenant,
Telling
right?
your
We
daughter was
certainly
a covenant
agree.
with God for a while, okay?
We
So what?
certainly agree on all of that.
Well,
Like I kind of the gentleman that was here earlier. Like I get from his perspective. I think I'm putting words in his mouth, but in his version of reality, it's not his body; it's his God's body. So it's not
yeah.
like it's not his. You know, he's not. He doesn't need to provide consent because his physical body doesn't belong to him. His physical body belongs to his God, and his God says to do this. So, like, I
Yeah.
get why religious people do things that don't seem sane to atheists or
Can
to
I
people who aren't
can I
religious.
can I just make a public service announcement real quick? Children are not your property.
Yeah,
Children
agreed.
are under your care, but they are their own human beings. Once you're born, once you're a child, you have your own bodily autonomy, and it's up for your parents to take care of you and do the best thing they can. And yes, I know that many people believe sincerely that this act, this practice is a covenant with God. I understand you think that, but it's just not true. It's a horrific practice that needs to be
Someone said it
stopped.
makes you more cleanly. No, someone being gross or clean, it has nothing to do with that. If you teach someone about hygiene, they'll keep themselves clean. If you don't
Yeah.
teach them about hygiene, then they won't keep themselves clean. Just
Yeah.
because making something a 10-second easier job does not mean we should be mutilating children.
The gentleman in the comments, I think your title is, I can't read that. Thousand Murder First? I'm not sure what that means. Anyway, circumcision makes washing considerably easy and easier to clean infections. Yes, of course, that is certainly true. But kind of like Science First is saying, like, that doesn't mean that we can't teach people that have not been circumcised how to clean themselves properly. And if there is physically a problem, I'm not even sure what I'm allowed to say or not say on TikTok, but like,
Yeah, just
if
be very careful. Yeah.
like if the whole sweater can't pull back, there you can actually have a medical procedure done that is not a circumcision. It's just sort of a little bit of a relaxing. It's basically a small piece is going to be removed so that it can still exist but be able to pull all the way back. Those would be the men that it would be very difficult for them to really clean properly because their turtleneck can't turtle all the way down their neck. I don't know what I'm allowed to say.
No, that's a great description. I appreciate you, my friends. All right, I've got some more guests waiting to come
Sure.
in, but come back again sometime, okay?
High five.
Equal. I
Yeah.
have questions for you later, bro.
Yeah.
I,
Wait.
I,
Give me a teaser.
it's a tiny turtle question.
A tiny turtle question. Okay.
I'm gonna follow you, bro. I'm gonna follow.
Okay. Okay. I'm still learning how lives work. It was a pleasure, guys. It was a pleasure.
See ya.
Yeah, likewise. Truly a pleasure. And thank you for working in the health industry and being
Oh yeah.
a reasonable person that I'm sure has helped a tremendous amount of people through education and hands-on help. I mean, the world is better off with people like you in it. So I thank you for your kindness and generosity and opinion and service. Oh, we had a guest coming in. Oh, there they are. Hello? Hello, are you there? Aim Hearts, are you there?
I think they stepped away from their phone for a second. I can hear the echo.
I can hear background noise. All right, I'm going to give you 5 seconds to say something, and then you can come back later.
Did you know that God loves everyone? It says it in the comments.
So it must be true, right?
It has to be true.
It's on the internet. It's got to be true. All right, I can hear you making noises. You're about to get the boot, unless you want to have an actual conversation. And
Au revoir.
there they go.
Luna goes, cool, witch god.
Hello?
Yeah. Hello. What's on your minds today?
Hey, yeah, I just want to say, like, Christianity isn't like an evil like religion, you know. It's focused on love and hope. You know, that's the
Well,
main that's the
I
main
have a little bit of history that would dispute that claim, but
Quite a bit,
continue.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the main commandment, the top 2 commandments is to love God and to love your neighbor.
Have you ever
Like,
heard of Manifest Destiny?
yeah.
Can you describe what Manifest Destiny is when it applies to the Native Americans?
Yeah, so that's America wanting to expand to the West, right?
Well, it was a religious practice that God gave us this country, and it's our God-given right to displace the current inhabitants. And I think that led to a tremendous amount of, what's the word? Genocide?
Well, where does it say anything about that in the Bible?
Oh, that's so crazy, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the story
Amazing.
of Passover?
Yeah.
There's a good one.
Ooh, that's a
Do
really
you,
good one.
do you think that it was justifiable for God to unalive all of the innocent firstborn babies that were not passed over?
I mean, that was God. Like, we believe that God can do what he wants to do because
Right,
he's
but is
God.
that love? Is that all loving? Is that just?
Well, God takes care of his people.
So if you're
And
not his people, then too bad.
Yeah, that's God invites everyone to be a part of him, basically.
all right, another question. Couple questions, and they are in tandem. What conditions have to be met in order to enter into the kingdom of heaven?
So all you have to do is believe in Jesus Christ, that he died for your sins and rose again. Just believe in Jesus, and yeah, you've entered the kingdom of heaven if you truly believe in him.
Right, and what happens to all of the souls and all of the people that fail to meet that criteria? Do they just disappear, or do they go to hell, or what do you believe in?
So the reason why God wants us to believe in Jesus Christ is because here on this earth, there's a lot of things that can deteriorate the human soul. So we believe in Jesus Christ because it is a upkeeping of the human soul.
Right. But so what happens to the other souls?
People deteriorate, their souls deteriorate, and yeah, that's what God is trying to save us from.
So they just
But
evaporate? What does
No.
deteriorate mean?
So basically, they become evil, or they become something happens to them, and they life is long, so that sort of thing happens.
Okay, so there are approximately 1.4 billion practicing Hindus that will never know the revelations of Jesus. They'll never hear the gospel of Jesus. And they sincerely believe in Brahman and Vishnu and Hanuman and all of the Hindu gods of their religion. Are they all doomed to an eternity of, I don't know, torment, or would never have the opportunity to go to heaven?
Because they've never
Well,
even heard of, or
Yeah, never even heard of. What about the Aborigines in Australia that have absolutely no idea about the Bible even existing? Jesus
yeah.
is not in their thoughts ever. Never, ever, never Jesus, no Jesus. What happens to their soul?
Yeah, so a person has the option and the choice to choose if they want to go to heaven. If they
But
haven't
how can
received the
you
message.
choose if you've never heard of it?
Right, so that means they just haven't heard the message. If they hear the message, they have the opportunity to go to heaven.
Right, but if
right,
they
so
never hear the message, where do they
yeah,
Yeah.
go?
Yeah, so if they hear the message, then they have an opportunity. If they don't, then they don't.
and how do you know all of this?
Because it's like if I tell you like you want to go to the movies, then we can go to the movies.
Right,
But
but
if I
who
never
did
ask you to go to
someone
the
tell
movies, then
you this? Did you read it somewhere? Like, how do you know these things?
well, it's common sense. Like if someone doesn't, if
Nope,
someone doesn't ask you,
this isn't common sense because I don't know this and he doesn't know this, and
Yeah, not to the Aboriginal Australian who has never read the Bible. It's not common sense.
there are vast numbers of people that this is not common knowledge to.
yeah. So that's why Jesus tells us to go and preach it out to the world, so
Right,
that we can get the message out.
but what if you're wrong? What if the Hanuman god is correct and they are right and their Jesus, which is not a Jesus, it's a monkey god? What if they're correct?
Well, I know that I'm right. I
How
know that I'm right, and I
how
believe that I'm
do
right
you know?
because I believe in Jesus Christ. I'm in the faith, so I believe that Jesus Christ is in heaven right now.
So I
And
believe in Santa Claus. Does that make Santa Claus real?
no,
So does
but
believing in
that's
something make something real?
it's called faith.
Nope, that is a question. Does believing in something make something real?
If you're, if you want to believe in something that's, that doesn't make sense to believe, then go ahead. But my faith actually
No,
has
no, no. Does
a reason.
believing in
There's a
something make
reasonable,
something
there's
real?
reasonable things behind it.
That is a question. Does believing in something make it real?
No,
Okay, so let's start from there. Just because something is believed, just like the tooth fairy and the Easter bunny, having to have proof of something, just for me and Brian, is really important. So, what is your best proof that you are correct?
so the thing that holds my faith together is that Jesus Christ. Well, not the thing that holds it together, but one of the evidences that we want to bring to the table is that Jesus Christ is a real human being. That he came to this planet, he lived, and he died. And a lot of historians, they believe that he was a real person.
Yeah, I believe that too. I think there's enough evidence to warrant the belief, the understanding that Jesus was a real human person that was born by a woman who was impregnated by a man, not God. And they were a fairly progressive Jewish apocalyptic preacher during his lifetime. And he made a lot of waves, and the government of Rome decided they've had enough of his shit and, unalived him. And then he was put into a tomb, or maybe not. We actually don't know that the tomb ever existed. He was probably stuck in a mass grave in all of reality. But then this whole story was built around him, and you believe in the story. You think, it sounds to me like you think that Jesus was the Son of God with no evidence. But instead, you use this book that's full of claims to justify your claims. You can't use the book to justify the claims that are in the book. So let's talk about the difference between evidence and claims for a minute. Please stand by. Here I have my copy of the Holy Bible. This is a red letter King James Version, And if anyone doesn't know what the red letter means, all of Jesus's words are in red text. How do I know that Jesus actually said the words that are in red text? How do I know that they're not just put there in red text as if, like, I'm the author of the book and I'm typing away on my iPad, 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, and I know that Jesus said these words, so I put them in red text. How do you tell the difference between a person actually saying those words, 2,000 years ago, and somebody making it up and convincing you that it's true? How do you tell the difference?
Yeah, so well, the New Testament and everything that Jesus taught builds off of Jewish beliefs. So the Old Testament. So it's it is not just a new religion. It's actually building off of previous
I understand that.
Jewish
I'm
thought.
asking about an epistemological exercise. How do you tell the difference between someone claiming that Jesus said this and actually knowing that Jesus said this? How do you tell the difference?
I mean, this is the scripture that we believe in. I mean, as far as
Okay, let me make it even more simple. We're going back to Triscuit lands. I love garden herb Triscuits. Inside this box is a number of Triscuits. I believe that there are 420 Triscuits in this box. And I have faith that there are 420 Triscuits in this box. Do you believe me?
I mean, if you say that, I mean, I can't tell you that you're wrong.
Well, why not? Why can't you tell me that I'm wrong? I mean, it's unreasonable to think that there are 420 Triscuits in this little... And by the way, a Triscuit is about this big, right?
I read what it says on the box, right? And it
Oh,
probably says how many there are.
that's a good option. I like where you're going. Let's expand on this a little bit more. How do we determine how many Triscuits are in the box?
You could count it.
Yes, that is a great option. So we can actually examine and count how many Triscuits.
Right.
Let's make
So
it simpler.
hold
What
on. I'll just say this. We believe that scripture, the four gospels that we have, they are the account of Jesus' life. So things
Yeah,
that have happened throughout his life. So someone was
I
there
know.
writing it down, or it's a witness. It's a witness testimony.
I understand that. I believe you when you say that you believe that. What do you have to say when I can easily point out that the four Gospels are contradictory? There are contradictions between the four Gospels.
I say they're different focuses, right? Like if there's different kinds of evidence, there's over 2,000 eyewitnesses. They are gathering evidence from a certain amount of people, and there's different authors compiling the
How
evidence.
many how many people were outside of Jesus' tomb on the third day when he rose? How many people? It
I'm
wasn't
not sure.
2,000. It wasn't 2,000. I can promise you that. All four Gospels have a different number of people.
Yeah, I think it was Mary Magdalene that was outside.
Well, says one of the Gospels.
Right.
And then another gospel says it was Mary Magdalene and two soldiers. And then another gospel says it was an angel. And then the other one says, well, it was three ladies and a soldier or something like that. I don't remember the
Well,
details.
you
But
also
what's
have to take it
important...
into account that these gospels weren't compiled for years later. They weren't.
Yeah, isn't that a
Yeah.
problem? Why is that a good thing?
Well, it's not. We're trying to get as much knowledge as we can about Jesus. These are. It's not like we don't have every aspect of his life. We have what we have. We have what's important.
So, what do you think the most important part is?
First of all, Jesus, just his life in general, and second of all, his death and resurrection.
Right. So how do you prove that he rose from the physical earth into heaven?
You can't prove that. That's not something that you can prove. It's an event that happened. If there's a
It
in history, in with all of history, the only way to prove that history happened was with the event that happened and the evidence that surrounds that event.
Well, what's the whole purpose of him sacrificing himself on the cross, right? It was to uh, alleviate our sin of some kind, right?
Yeah.
But what
Well,
if I told
yeah.
you that the whole concept of sin doesn't make any sense?
Well, if if I go out and I punch you in the face, you're gonna know that I sinned against you, right? That's what a sin is. It's when someone
No, that's an
transgresses
assault.
against you.
That's an assault.
Yeah, an assault is a sin. That's a definition, right? I'm
But
defining it.
coveting thy neighbor's wife is not an assault.
Yeah, and that's a sin too, because you're still hurting someone.
How am I lusting after my neighbor's wife hurting anyone? If I
Well,
don't take any action, I just lust. I covet thy neighbor's wife. Oh, she's super hot. I am jealous of that guy, but I take no action. It's just all up here. It's completely a thought. No
yeah.
action. Is that
First,
still a
first
sin?
of all, yeah. First of all, it's a sin against God. Second of all, if when you lust against your neighbor, that is something that is growing. It's like a sin. Like lust is something that can actually manifest itself, and you might cheat, you might do that sort of thing.
I might, yes, I might commit some kind of heinous act, but I'm saying that I never do. Like I see beautiful women in my life all the time, and I never approach them, I never assault them. There's no harm, there's no physical or emotional harm done. Why is that still a sin?
Yeah, well, we just believe that lust is adultery. Like if you're lusting against someone, then it's like you're you're desiring it so much, right? That's what lust is. There's
Isn't
a
our
difference between
entire
there's a
isn't our
difference
entire
between
our
no
entire
no
economic model is built off of lust?
there's a difference between seeing someone and they're attractive. You understand that they're attractive, right? You're not lusting after them, right? You just, oh, that person is, they're pretty or they're beautiful, right? Or
Do you
you can
do you
notice those
think
things.
do you
But
think that the Bible is perfect?
uh yeah, for what you need,
Well, let's define perfection. How do you define perfect? I have a nice candidate explanation. I think perfection means that it cannot be improved. There's no room for improvement. That's my definition of perfection. Would you agree, or do you have a different definition?
Yeah, well, this perfection has to do with the condition of the human soul. So it's not
I'm talking about the words in this book. Do you think that this book could be improved?
no.
I can. I'll give you an example. I would immediately replace "thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife" with "thou shalt not own people as property." Or maybe we could have 11. We could have both. We could keep the "thou shalt not" blah 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 and include the 11th commandment: "thou shalt not own people as property." There's an example of how we could vastly improve this text that was written in the Iron Age. Do you disagree with me?
Well, I didn't write the Bible. I just believe that it's God's law.
Yeah, and you can continue to believe that all day long, but it's
Yeah. Well, the reason why the law isn't really as important as Jesus coming is because we believe that love covers the whole entirety of, God's commandments. So
but
when you
Jesus
love,
said keep the old law. Jesus said keep the old law.
right? When you love, it keeps the whole law. That's what we believe.
Do you
So
have children? Can I ask you if you have children?
no.
Let's say you did. Put yourself in the position of a parent, and that child speaks back to you like they're just being a rude little brat. Do you know what the Old Testament commands you to do to that child that speaks back to you? I do.
The rod, is that what you're talking
No,
about?
stoning. Public stoning.
Oh, right.
Do you know what the old law is for
Yeah,
working on the
that
Sabbath? Did you work today? Happy
that
Sunday, by the way. Did you pick up any sticks on the Sabbath?
yeah. Well, we believe that Sabbath was made for man, not man made for Sabbath. So you can do what you want on the Sabbath.
Do you wear mixed fabric? Do you have a polyester shirt on right now by chance?
Right. I'm trying to say none of that matters. That's what Jesus
But
came.
Jesus
Oh,
That's
said
one of
it
the reasons
matters.
Jesus came.
but why
No,
why doesn't
Jesus.
it matter anymore is the
No,
question.
that's what I'm trying to say.
Right,
What
but why
matters is
doesn't it matter anymore if the original why do some of the original things matter and some of the original things don't matter?
so
Who makes
okay.
those
This is
decisions?
actually a really important question. So Jesus came to die for us on the cross, right? So basically, it's a transfer of life. So he died for me, so I could have his life, and I died on the cross with him. So that's a spiritual thing. So
Right, but
now,
who
when
makes
God,
the who makes the decisions that the old things in the book matter and some of the old things don't matter? What
Jesus,
right, but he didn't write the book after his death. So, who makes those decisions and how come they get to make the decisions? And the people that were 200, 300, 400, 500, 2,000 years later that are writing them in, how come they get to make the decisions on what Jesus said?
um, yeah, well, we have. I mean, this is just
Nope,
I can't
there is
answer
no
that.
yeah well. That is a really profound question when you think about it. When you think about original sin and you think about Adam and Eve, if that original story, why is that piece of the Bible still true and the rest of it doesn't matter? Why can you no longer sell your child into slavery? How come all of these people can now play football even though touching the skin of a dead pig is unclean? Why do some of these things no longer matter
Yeah. So,
if they were
so
the
yeah,
original word of God?
let
And
me
how
let
do
me get to it. Let me
how do
get
you
to it.
do
So,
you read Hebrew?
I'm learning Hebrew right now, but
That's good.
can I get to what I was saying? So, when Jesus died on the cross, he took on our sin, and Jesus Christ entered us. That's what we believe. We believe we're in Christ. So what that means is that when God looks at us, he sees Jesus Christ. He doesn't see the old creation. So now we live under grace.
You gotta speak right into your microphone, my friend. I can't hear you.
Yeah, so I'm saying that we live under grace. We don't live under a law anymore because Jesus Christ died to the law.
Right, I understand that's what the book says, but to Chelsea's point, the entire concept of sin is unbelievable. And by unbelievable, I mean there's no reason to believe it. Because the whole story, the concept of Adam and Eve going against God's will and eating from the tree of knowledge. First of all, the tree was planted there by God, and if God has all foresight, if he's all knowing and all powerful, then why would he stick the tree of knowledge in the middle of the Garden of Eden to begin with? Knowing, because he's all knowing, he knew that Adam would be tricked into eating the fruit of knowledge, and then sin and everything else goes on. And then at the same time, you're rejecting all the other laws. Like, do you sincerely believe that some dude lived in the belly of a great fish for 3 days with no breathing apparatus? Do you sincerely believe that Lot's wife was turned into a pillar of salt? Do you sincerely believe that the entire globe was flooded when we know that there's factually not enough water in our globe, our atmosphere, to flood up to the top of the Himalayan mountains? Or all of that is just allegory? All of that is just, oh, they're making stories, blah, 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 but not that sin part. The sin part is real, and Jesus died to take on our sins, and we don't have to worry about it anymore because Jesus. See, the entire story is so unbelievable and so flawed. Any logical person can examine it critically and say this is a bunch of fairy tales mixed in with mythology, mixed in with all the other pagan religions at the time that they wanted to get on board, so they just wrote in stories like Christmas trees and Passover and flood stories. And I believe that you're sincere. You sound like a true believer. But as a critical thinker, I want to impress upon you to examine your holy book critically and not just take the word of your parents or your pastors or anyone that's telling you that this nonsense is factually true, because it's not. It
Yeah.
makes no sense at all.
Yeah, I mean the Bible is a hard book to understand, but I can guarantee you that it does make sense.
How do
And
you guarantee? All
I
right,
can
let me put
answer
it this way.
why God put
Let me put it this way. I'm getting bored. I want to move on to the next guest, but I'm going to allow you to share a final thought, and I encourage you to come back again, think about this, come back again, and let's talk about it another time, please.
yeah, so um the only comment I have is about Adam and Eve, and then I'll hop off. Yeah, so the reason why God put the tree of good and evil in the center of the garden is because Adam and Eve are made in God's image. So God, He knows good and evil, but He didn't want them to know good and evil, because as soon as they find out about good and evil, they'd become ashamed. They'd become ashamed that, oh, I'm like, there's evil and there's good in this world. Like now I have to worry about these two things that before I was just living in the garden, just living, right? And right, that's the part of God that Adam and Eve weren't supposed to know, so they could stay in the garden. So yeah, that's
Okay.
that's why God put the tree in the middle, because it's a way to know themselves more, because they're made in the image of God.
Ta-ta
Yeah.
for now. All right.
But yeah.
I just want to leave you with this question to ask yourself. What information, what evidence would you need to change your level of certainty in these beliefs? So, again, come back another time. I've got lots of guests waiting, so thank you for your time, but I just can't. I just can't. Chelsea disappeared. I'm sad. Hi, welcome.
Yeah.
What's on your minds today?
I would like to talk from the point of Virgin Mary apparitions. I live in one place where Virgin Mary appears for the last 40 years, so I know a lot of things about it. And I saw
Okay.
a lot of things, a lot of evidence, a lot of miracles. So Virgin Mary appears for the last 500 years. She appears in Guadalupe, Lourdes, and Fatima. In the last century, she appeared in Japan and Spain and Africa and Quebec.
How do we
But
know
last
that this
40,
is the Virgin Mary? And please speak right into your microphone. You're kind of muffled.
okay, I'm going to turn on the volume. So last 40 years, she appears in the village, which is where I live. 40 last 40 years.
But who told you that?
Many
How do you know it's true?
people. Who told me that? I'm telling that
Why do
Virgin
you
Mary
believe
appears.
this is true?
Okay, we have about 2 million pilgrims, tourists every year, coming from all over the Europe and the world, and it's a continuation of other apparitions where Virgin Mary appears, and she appears to visionaries, seers. But there is one thing that every apparition has in common, which every person can see, are sun miracles, miracle of the sun spinning. So this is the one thing that every single person can see, be a seer or not a seer, be a visionary
Have
or
you
not a visionary.
do you know what an illusionist is?
Yes,
So do you think illusionists are doing magic, or is it just a trick that people believe is magic?
well, illusionist. Look, if I'm talking from the point of as many exorcisms, they could be using also the demonic powers. What I wanted to say
Demonic
about
powers.
what I wanted to say about the sun spinning, you can see on my channel 2 videos of sun spinning, and this is the thing that every person can see when it comes to this Virgin Mary apparition place. So in this village where Virgin Mary appears, the sun spinning happened almost every day since 2005 to 2013. But if you go outside of this village, nobody ever saw this sun spinning. If you want to see, if you have a YouTube now, I can tell you what to type in the YouTube so you can see.
I can
And
go
this
to
is the,
YouTube and see Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, Sasquatch, snipes, alien, UFOs. I can see all kinds of stuff on YouTube. Are they all true? Are they all real?
I'm talking to you about the place which Vatican confirmed with the
And
with
I'm
the
trying to
with the
ask you
massive
about
army
thinking
of
critically.
the scientists. Do you want to see the proof of something that is unexplainable that a lot of people saw, including me? I'm telling you about it. You
It
want to see
cannot
it?
be
The
explained
sun
and
spinning.
unexplainable at the same time. That's an oxymoron.
Do you want to see it on the YouTube?
I have no interest in watching someone's magic video. I can show you. Like I said, I can show you videos of aliens. I can show you videos of Sasquatch or the Bigfoot. Does that make it true?
This is something that 50 million people saw because we have 2 million people a year coming here.
I'm
It's
sorry, my
something that
friend.
Vatican confirmed.
I'm moving on. There's a barrier that we're just not getting over. Oh, Diver Life is back. Hello, welcome.
What's up?
What's on your minds today?
Oh, actually, I forgot I was still in the guest request, but I really wanted to debate that one guy because that guy was really getting on my nerves of the shit he was saying.
I know, and I sometimes I'll let people debate each other, but I don't really enjoy that kind of content, so I like to do one-on-ones or have Chelsea with me and we'll take on one guest at a time. So if you have an opinion or observation that you'd like to share about him, that's fine, but let's just keep it civil, and I trust you will.
Yeah, yeah. Just moving on from that. But so I think we had a talk. What? Maybe it was yesterday. I think it was during yesterday's live, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, or the day before.
And
It's all a
now,
blur to me.
yeah, before, but there's one thing I was just thinking overnight, and I know we discussed this, but I don't know if I'm missing a point or something. But after that discussion, part of me was like put back into that spinning vortex of like, well, how do I know this is true now, and how do I know it's not? And now I'm like, well, I'm trying to break from that indoctrination, but it's like it's wrapping me back in, and it's like, no, you're not done yet. You will suffer these consequences, etc. And now I'm like, well, what the hell do I even? What do I even do? I'm completely lost.
Can I recommend a book to you? Do you like to read?
I like to read, but I'll do it anyway.
Yeah, there's a really good book that that might help you sort out some of these questions. It's by Carl Sagan, Sagan, and the book is called The Demon Haunted World. I think everybody should read it. I wish it were required reading for everybody. The Demon Haunted World by Carl Sagan. Please write that down. Or buy it right now.
Gotcha.
It's an old book. It's only a few dollars. It's not like get a used copy off of, I don't even want to say the word, but go to the bookstore. It's like $7 or $8. Everyone, go buy a copy of The Demon Haunted Worlds, and it's going to illustrate how humans are pattern-seeking, pattern-recognizing creatures. We see patterns all the time, but our brains are very flawed. We see patterns and assign ghosts or apparitions or spirits or angels when there aren't any, right? And it dives into the love of science and the pursuit of knowledge and learning how to tell the difference between tricking yourself something is true and accepting something is true because it is true, right? It's a really masterful read. I recommend it to everyone. Final thoughts before
Yeah,
I
because like
final thoughts
no,
before I
yeah,
go
no,
to the
I was
next
just curious to
guest.
see because I'm like,
Big delay. I'm sorry, Diver. There's a big delay. Come back another time. The Demon Haunted World by Carl Sagan. Please, everyone. I promise it's worth reading. Hello. Welcome.
Hello. Yeah, thank
What's
you.
on your minds today?
Yeah, so the God is on my mind. The very fact that we are questioning his existence proves he's there. And then,
Does questioning the existence of Bigfoot prove that Bigfoot exists?
no, but this is actually a big question. Everyone of late is actually interested in knowing who God is. Even science, I would say, to an extent. Look at quantum physics. They are trying to actually explain what they can see. Talking about the atom, going deep down into the subatomic particles, and at the point they get confused.
Can I share a thought?
Yeah.
So, ever since the real, I don't know, manifestation of the scientific process, in the
Mm-hmm.
late 1800s, right?
Yeah.
The god of the gaps has been ever shrinking. The god just gets smaller and smaller and smaller as the gaps are shrunk because our scientific knowledge is growing and growing and growing.
Of course,
And now
of
people
course.
are using
The
quantum
Bible spoke
mechanics
about
to
that.
try to
Yeah.
prove God's existence. But now we're talking about the smallest of small gaps. I think that's funny. I don't mean to laugh at you. I really don't mean to
Yeah.
do that. I just think the concept is hilarious. But please
Mm.
continue.
Yeah. So actually, you know, the Bible spoke about men being knowledgeable in the last days. Okay.
I'm sorry.
So
Please speak into the microphone. It's hard to hear you.
I said the Bible spoke about men being knowledgeable. In the last
Yeah.
days, knowledge will increase. And this is what we are seeing actually. And if we are able to understand God 100%, then he ceases to be God. So that is what he's hiding from those
He's
who
he's he's hiding from our knowledge because if we
actually the formula is that we should just believe. So he gave us
oh
the Bible, and we are to just look at nature. Nature was the first book God ever wrote, the first Bible. Um, you look at nature, and then it just tells you this is God, you know. But ever since the school system was invented, man wanted to actually, we are drawn to the flesh. We usually want to satisfy the flesh, so we try to make paradigms. We try to make theories, we try to get concepts to actually justify the reason why we are drawn to carnality. Let me put it that way. Yes, so to know God is to just believe. Once we start questioning, our minds are actually limited. Our mind is limited. We can't really understand who he is. We can't explain with our science and
All right, all
all
right.
that.
So yes,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree that our minds are limited. We will never have perfect knowledge of all of the cosmos, right? We will
Yeah.
never have perfect knowledge of the interactions between every atom. That's just unreasonable. But
Exactly.
for 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 a skeptic like me, for a non-believer like me, to accept the premise that God exists, I need more than just believe, because I can just believe that white cats are better than black cats. Does that mean that white cats are in fact better than black cats?
Your belief, I think that would not be a belief because you might have an experience then.
But
Okay.
I could believe that Sasquatch exists. Does that make Sasquatch exist?
Maybe you had an experience. Maybe you saw Sasquatch. I don't know what Sasquatch is.
Bigfoot.
So, I don't know actually.
The Loch Ness Monster. The Flying
Okay.
Spaghetti Monster. Santa Claus. The Easter Bunny. Do you think there is an actual tooth fairy that leaves money under your pillow and steals your child's tooth? No, you don't, because you are a reasonable person, right? You practice skepticism. You already practice skepticism towards all of the other gods that you don't believe in. Am I right? Do you believe in Hanuman? Do you believe in
No,
Vishnu? Do you believe in
no,
Brahman? Do you believe
no.
that Buddha was a god? Right. These are all of the gods that you don't believe in. All I'm suggesting you do is apply that same amount of skepticism to the God that you do believe in.
Okay, so I always use Israel, the Jews, as my timeline, and you relate that to the Bible, like, and it's just perfect. And the Book of Revelations, the things we are seeing currently, everything is just proven that the Bible is true. And initially the Jews worshipped the true God,
Can you give
and
us an
all of
example?
us were coming. Okay, currently you realize the world is at the state of unrest. There are wars here and there, and
Yeah,
the Bible spoke about that.
can you give me a point in our history where there has never been unrest, when there have never been wars or rumors of war? As far as I can
Well,
tell, ever since humans built, weapons and organized in tribes and had territory to defend or conquer, humans have always been a, let's say, ornery lot.
yeah, but not to
So
this. Okay,
how
actually, the war
look,
I'm talking about is actually world wars. Okay, so first, second world war was spoken about in the Bible as a war. In Revelation, first war, second war, and then he spoke of a third war. Usually we don't like to talk about this because it causes fear and panic. But if you look at the way things are running up to, with the West, with Russia, with China, and all this, it's like we are all on a time bomb, and everyone is feeling that. Look at what is happening in Los Angeles, flooding, those earthquakes,
what
this
if
natural
what if I told
disasters and all
you
that.
what if I
Mm.
used a counterexample? What if I said in today's age, we are safer than we have ever been before. We are more peaceful than we have actually ever been before. There's, we can use statistics to prove any point. It's not useful.
Okay.
And the fact that you think that Revelations is accurate and that it's it's useful, I'm sorry, but it's not. I reject that claim.
Well, you could actually look at currently the type of weaponry we have. Talk about nuclear power and the effects it could have if anybody tries to start a nuclear war. Look at what is happening with Russia and Ukraine, and we are all panicking in a way, like we are trying to hide our fears. We are trying to be diplomatic, but there is, in our deep down, we know that there is a little panic. If something should go,
Yeah. Nation states have to conduct themselves carefully
yeah,
because idiots
hmm
with weapons that are far too powerful are a very,
exactly,
very dangerous thing. Right.
hmm
But
of
that's not
course,
prophesied by the Bible. The Bible is full of Barnum statements that can apply to pretty much any point in time. The what's the word I'm looking for? The prophecies in the book
hmm
are not accurate enough to be actual prophecies. They are so vague, they can apply to pretty much any point in time. Case in point, in a time of war or rumors of war can apply to any point in time. It's not a prophecy. It's not.
no, for I'm very particular about the world wars. Okay, before the first, second world wars, the Bible spoke about it, and it really happened.
I'm
Well,
sorry, I'm bored. I'm going to get to the next guest,
okay,
but please
okay,
wrap up your final thought if you wish.
yeah, okay. So, um, I think I've brought out my main point. So just it should be a summary. If we want to see God, let's look at nature. If we want to know the time we are in, we should look at the Jews. We should look at Israel. We should look at what is happening there. That tells
Let's
us the
look at the
time. And
trees.
we can also use the Bible as our roadmap all the time.
I can
Yeah.
also look at the trees and prove that the claims in the Bible are factually wrong.
Hmm.
All right, my friend, come again another time when I have more patience. I
Okay.
have a lot of guests to get to, but I appreciate you and
Okay. Yeah.
come back again. Okay. Okay, here we go. Ready? According to the Bible, the entire world was flooded about 4,500 years ago. But we can use the trees, dendrochronology, to literally count with counting numbers the age of trees. And we have an unbroken history of tree rings going back 13,900 years. So, if the global flood happened, like the Bible suggests it did, then there should be a break in the chain of tree rings. But it's not broken. All right. Hello. Welcome back. How are you?
Hey, good, Brian. How you doing?
Yeah, good. What's on your minds today?
Um, well, I just wanted to see if we could agree on a point that I think is important to do with the Bible, and that
Okay.
is that some of it is descriptive and some of it's prescriptive. So you might have heard that before.
Oh, for
Um,
sure. Yeah.
yeah. So even though you had touched with one of the previous guests about things like slavery and some other comments were made, but even though you see such things in the Bible, that doesn't mean that they're prescriptive by God.
Well, the Bible says you should fetch a good price for your daughter when you sell her. The Bible prescribes that you should only beat your human property to the point where they don't die within 3 days. Those are prescriptive commands from the Bible, or am I mistaken?
Yeah, we can have a look at those verses if you'd like, because a lot of people claim, for example, that slavery is a thing in the Bible and it's commanded by God. But you can actually look at, for example, Exodus 20. If you want to open it up, it specifically tells you that anyone who steals a person and tries to sell them is to be punished or killed. I
Yeah,
can't remember
it also,
which one.
yeah, and we have laws against stealing each other's cars. But the difference between a person and a vehicle is that a vehicle is not a sentient human being. The condoning of slavery in the Bible is an atrocity against mankind. It is a human, it's a humanitarian crisis. The fact, and it is a fact, that the Bible condones slavery is abhorrent to me.
Well, let's
And
have.
like I say over and over again, I can think of a very easy way to vastly improve the Bible. You just add the 11th commandment. Thou shalt not own people as property. Why doesn't it say that? I wonder.
Well, let me ask you something. Nowadays, when someone gets into debt, what do we do? Like, say you can't pay off your mortgage, right?
Yeah,
The
we're talking about physical assets and property here, and debts of monetary value. But you do recognize that that's different from owning a person as property, I hope.
No, so I'm making my way to a point.
Okay.
The point is, in today's society, you would declare bankruptcy, right? So all your assets, the bank is allowed to basically take all your assets, anything under your name, so on and so forth. So they
Garnish
basically,
your wages for a period of time. Yeah, I understand.
yeah. So in the Bible, God obviously knew, if it's the God of the Bible we're talking about here, God obviously knew what humanity would go through before it ever happened. And so he was setting in place a system, a temporary system, but yet a system by which people who got into debt, it specifically talks about people who get into debt, could pay off that debt. So when you say slavery, you're comparing it to, for example, what the African culture went through, what we see not too long ago happened with the African culture put into slavery, and other parts of the world were put under slavery as well. So my point is, even though you see slavery in the Bible, the servanthood that God is condoning or is allowing is not slavery in the sense that we think of it.
All right.
It's
What part of
paying
the
your debt.
Bible is it that says you have to unalive all of the town's men and women and keep the virgin girls as your property? I mean, we can play this game all day long, but I'm really not interested. Anyone who's trying to defend the Bible condoning slavery is either intellectually dishonest or completely, like, you sound absolutely absurd to me right now. It sounds like you are trying to make this horrific act somehow justifiable because what? People in the past were different than they are now? It's absurd to me. It's so intellectually. I wish I could say the R word right now. So bad. You are apologizing for a horrific act.
Oh,
The
I'm not
ownership of
apologizing.
people. All right,
I think
riddle me this, Batman. Why didn't the Bible say, forget money, forget ownership, forget property entirely? Let's all just house everyone. Let's feed everyone. Let's be kind. Forget the whole debt system. There's no need for money anymore. You do what you want to do. The people are going to raise food and distribute it equally and fairly, and no one should go hungry. But it doesn't. It says, here's a version of slavery that's acceptable. Here's another version of slavery that's acceptable. And people and your indoctrination has brainwashed people to accept this as okay. And it's disgusting. You sound awful right now.
so. If it says in the Bible that if you steal a person and sell them, which is what slavery is, would we agree on that at least? If you steal a person and sell them, is that a good definition of?
I can't. Try again another time. I am very short on patience today.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome. What's on your minds today?
Oh, just a couple of quick points. Uh, would you confirm the belief that energy exists in a finite amount, that we cannot create or destroy energy?
Yeah, that's a tough one for me. While I am an electrical engineer and I learned how to use Kirchhoff's voltage and current laws and I understand the basics of thermodynamics, when it comes into the very wacky worlds of quantum physics, that's where I can't say one way or the other. Now, in basic
Okay, well, we
Newtonian
know.
physics, yes, it's reasonable to say that energy can transform from matter into energy. That kind of stuff. I understand that, but
Okay,
where are you going with this? Like, what's
okay.
your
Well,
goal here?
would you believe? Would you believe that? Or I mean, not believe. Um, Energy can imprint itself. We are essentially, if you break this down to a molecular level, human beings, all life, everything is energy that has imprinted itself into a pattern that has evolved throughout the years, correct?
Yeah, that's a fancy way of putting it, but sure, okay.
Even even our brains do what they do because of electrical patterns, energy patterns, connectivity between one brain cell that communicates to another and another and another, so forth and so on.
Yep.
That's what eventually patterns our consciousness.
Okay. Yeah,
Now,
I'm on board so far. Sure.
I ask you not to think of God as some sky father that sits above in judgment and judgmental things above people, right? Not don't think of it that way. That's a really infantile understanding of something that is completely more incomprehensible than most minds can perceive.
Well, I'm sure there's
Now,
plenty of people in this audience that would disagree, but I digress. Yes, continue.
well, what I'm saying is the very first consciousness that ever existed in our universe. Imagine the Big Bang Theory not as not from a scientific point, but as a spiritual awakening of the first consciousness. And from that
Interesting.
point, that original example of the first consciousness, it spread like all things, like all patterns that tend to happen in multiple. Once it happens once, it's more than likely able to happen again. Right?
Well, I don't. I see what you're saying. I understand the words that you're using, but I don't. I'm not on board with that idea, and I could illustrate why. There's a great video. It's many years old. It's on YouTube. You can watch it. It's the the biology study of E. coli bacteria in this super plate, and the super plate
Okay.
is segmented into different levels of antibiotic. And throughout, I think it's 11 days, this E. coli evolves to exist and thrive in these higher and higher concentrations of antibacterial. Now, I'm using
Okay.
this as an example to say here's how a life form can evolve, and I think consciousness, that mammals or other creatures like birds that have a brain, I believe that a consciousness is an emergent property of the brain. The physical matter, the electrical energies that are going on completely within our skull, right? Everything that happens here allows a consciousness to evolve and emerge, and it is
But you do
entirely
agree that the
dependent.
pattern for consciousness exists in our universe, correct?
I don't know what you mean by pattern. Like
The
we
the the
observe.
recipe, the recipe, the schematics, the whatever technical term you want to use, that kind of leans away from the spiritual or the religious side of it.
Yeah, when the conditions are met, then life and consciousness can exist.
Okay. And life and consciousness are basically energy forming itself into a pattern through molecular structure, through
So
atomic structure, through
is
quantum structure.
right. Is this a long-winded way to say that energy is God?
No. It's a
Oh,
long-winded way of saying that God is the first consciousness, the very first thing. Kind of like kind of like a computer program. Whenever you first establish the original program, and that computer becomes more and more aware. So what it does is, and it says it, and I will quote the Bible, Moses asked God, hey, what's your name? He had the gall to ask God what his name was, and God said, I am. Well, in the Hebrew translation of that word, it's not just that I exist, it's that I am. I am existence. So the very first consciousness, like that computer program that slowly becomes more and more advanced and evolved, reached out. And what it did was it started asking itself the same questions that we do whenever we become self-aware. I am what? I am hungry. I am cold. I am alone. And whenever the realization of loneliness and singular existence was understood, it decided to reach out and start making more. So it created other things, other branch outs, like a computer would create subprograms and programs that go far and beyond its reach in order to not only understand its environment, but its existence, to fill and answer those questions. But like a computer program, or like a computer that puts out those programs like feelers or tentacles, it's still a part of the whole.
So was Wolfenstein 3D the god of FPS games?
Well, if all things branched out from that original pattern, then I guess you could say that. But the original pattern still exists. If you can say that God does not take a day-to-day menial part in your life, that's truth. There is not some sky daddy out there who's going to go, oh, today I feel like Donald needs to have a car accident, and just causes me to have a car accident.
Right.
That's
But
not what happens.
the problem with using the God word, the God word, is once you use it, everybody in the world has their own personal understanding of exactly what you mean. But of course, that can't be true, because you're using the word in a radically different way than one of our previous guests, who was talking about their absolute knowledge and certainty that their Jesus God existed, right? So if you want to talk about energy or the first chicken and egg story, the first consciousness, then that's fine for you to talk about. But the moment you use the word God, now you're smuggling in all of the baggage from everybody else's God.
But that's where you individually, as a person, has to get over the aversion to the word and actually start to study beyond what the words mean. In science, even to quote science, I'm an alchemist also. I'm a pastor and I'm an alchemist. In alchemy, if you read the Emerald Tablet and you read the fundamental things of alchemy, even alchemists, the first scientists in Egypt and in Greece and all that, who actually prescribed to a singular teacher. In Egypt, they called him Thoth. In Greek, they called him Hermes. Nowadays, they collaborated them together, and it became Hermes Trismegistus. This belief was that there was a singular source of all energy, and by breaking down our environment scientifically and studying and expanding upon that knowledge, you got closer and closer to that singular source that is responsible for all existence. And they prescribe to the tria prima, which is the three primes. In alchemy, they fundamentally called it salt, sulfur, and mercury. But
Okay, can
we
I ask
know
you
it
a
better
question really
as,
quick? Can I ask you a question real quick?
yes, ma'am.
All right. So all of this sounds like a really nice story. But here's the thing. There are lots of really good stories around the world for religion. This just
But it's
sounds
not a
to
story, it's facts.
but for you it right. But let's draw a difference between fact and belief real quick. So, what's the difference between believing in something and knowing something?
Well, the fundamental nature of our universe is that no one ever really knows anything. because
there's all there's all
in
kinds of
order
things that we can know.
to well
we
no you
we
can't
know
know.
that the heart pumps blood, right? We know that gravity is a force on objects with mass. We know that
Okay.
our visible light is part of the electromagnetic spectrum. But the
But
difference,
you
I
know
think,
things until they're proven wrong, right?
okay, what's the difference between chemistry and alchemy?
Chemistry is basically only a science. Alchemy is fundamentally a belief and a science. You can look it up. Alchemy is a factual thing. It happened about 3,000 years ago
Right,
with
I
the
know,
emergence of
and
Judaism.
no, that's not what we're working on here. What
Yeah,
is the difference between knowing something and believing something, though? So knowing
because
something, right? But knowing something, like the heart pumps blood, and believing something, like the Earth was
we
once flat,
we knew that
and
Pluto
that
was a planet up
right,
until it wasn't.
right, and we knew the Earth was flat up until it wasn't. But here's the thing,
Simply because, and I
right,
can tell you right now, you say the heart pumps blood, correct?
Yeah.
What tells the heart to pump blood?
your brain.
Electro impulses sent through the nervous system by I am not a brain doctor.
Okay,
I'm not a
okay,
rocket
but
surgeon
see,
here.
but you said we know the heart pumps blood, but the heart doesn't pump the blood. The electro pulses, the nerve
What's
pulses that
what's
tell
the
the heart
difference?
to beat, are what
What's the
pumps the blood.
difference? What's the difference between astronomy and astrology?
Astronomy is the study of the planets. Astrology is the study of what they mean to human beings.
Yeah, there's a good explanation.
Mythological. Some people would say mythological. Other people would say it's metaphysical. I happen to believe in some metaphysical standpoints. In fact, alchemy relies really hard on collecting ingredients and materials and things for experimentation at the right times of the year and things like that. So you
do you
can,
know what Barnum statements are?
what is?
A Barnum statement is?
No, sorry, that's a term that escapes me.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of P.T. Barnum? You know, he had that famous quote, "There's a sucker born every minute."
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. So a
Yeah, Barnum
Barnum
and Bailey.
statement. Yeah, so a Barnum statement is a statement that's so broad in scope that it can pretty much apply to anyone, like horoscopes, right? And
Yeah, of
that's
course.
pretty much how I envision alchemy. I think it's a fun mental exercise or wish, but when it comes to the application of actual useful information,
Well, sir, a lot of our greatest scientists throughout history, Sir Isaac Newton, Plato, Copernicus, even Nikola Tesla, a lot of our greatest scientists were actually alchemists. In fact, Sir Isaac Newton
that's right.
wanted to be not only the father of physics, but the father of alchemy.
And did you know that Sir Isaac Newton used to drink mercury to cure his headaches?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
His misunderstanding of the Tria Prima was extreme, which is why
Bingo.
he did not understand. Well, yeah, I get that. There are going to be mistakes. Nothing is infallible. But the connection to the human nature that we perceive through science is fundamentally undeniable.
But we've evolved past alchemy for a reason.
But why evolve past it whenever nobody really understood it?
Because it's a pseudoscience.
If you understood it, like you understand basic addition, subtraction, all that, right? You don't use basic addition, multiplication, and subtraction on a large scale like you did in school. You know that. You know the fundamentals of those things. So if ever your knowledge gets called up, you can go back to that time and you can remember, hey, this works this way and this works this way, right?
So where today is alchemy applicable? How do we apply alchemy today?
To everything. Essentially, alchemy is responsible for your pharmaceuticals.
Okay, but that's not alchemy.
Nobody studies alchemy in college.
Okay.
There's no such
No,
thing
but
as alchemy
No,
301.
knowing
no,
natural
because
plant
they won't
compounds is not
put
alchemy.
religion in state anymore.
No, listen. Knowing natural plant compounds and knowing the usefulness of plant compounds and what is and is not edible in nature is not alchemy. And if you are confusing those two things, I do
No, I'm not.
apologize. But the
I'm moving
No,
ability,
on,
I'm
yeah, I was
but
like,
you can try
the
again
ability,
later.
I was like, yeah, the ability to tell the difference and what is helpful in science is not alchemy. Alchemy is like trying to use magic to create different things, right?
It's pseudoscience.
I know.
People have tried to turn lead into gold forever because lead is a really heavy metal, just like gold is a really heavy metal. So they thought, well, through some kind of chemical process, again, alchemy, we can turn one element into another element, and it's like the difference between astronomy and astrology, right? You can believe all you want that these Barnum statements in your astrology horoscope is accurate. It's speaking to you. It's telling you the true nature of your personal self until you realize what a Barnum statement is. And then you realize that this is not real. It's pseudoscience, quackery, snake oil, hogwash.
Someone said, well, wait, hold on. Someone said, so witches, wizards, shamans, are all performing. Yeah, it's all, yes, it's all hokum. It's all baloney. Yes.
All right, just a couple more guests, and then I'm probably going to log off for the day. Hello, welcome. What's on your minds today?
Hi. Hey, thanks for having me on. I always enjoy the conversation.
Well, thank
I
you.
just think it's really interesting. I need to start writing things down as people talk because each and every person that gets on spurs some sort of a thought, and I lose track by the time I get on. But I wanted to say that I love alchemy because, as you just pointed out, it's more of a dream. It's more of like the what if, and so we take the natural outcomes that we've observed for the understood outcomes, the expectation. We've seen them over and over and over for all the elemental things that have been put in motion in our world. And it's the what if. I always love the story of how gunpowder was invented and the actual hope for outcome was gold. And so
Yeah.
I just think that in the pursuit of some things, other greater things are discovered. And I think that that's the magic of our lives.
Oh, for sure.
I believe in a supreme creator for sure. But
Okay.
I think that 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 being put everything here, the matter here. I believe he organized it. I believe it's a he, and then said, "And go," and everything just started moving, and
But
everything
why do you
has
think it was a
evolved.
he? Why not a she or a non-binary creator? Why a he?
Brian. You know, Brian. I was raised religion, so I'm trapped by tradition. Um, I do. I I'm at a position in life where I actually was into theology, and I actually had the opportunity to serve a mission and got to really hear a lot of people. And I was really conflicted when I ended that service because what I found was that there's truth everywhere. Um, the one thing that separates is the same thing that should unify us, and that is the straight paradox of truth and what is truth. And so I just think that
Hmm.
I think it's more of a point of origin where we always get back to that, like, well, people are speaking in fact and what I know and those things, and there's really no thing that we can really know for sure except for elements. I think the elements are the only thing that we can really know for sure with any really mathematical certainty because we've observed them behave the same way over time. Now, those are elemental levels, and at a real extremely, from a reductionist standpoint, you know, the second that we start to compound elements and we create more, complex structures, and multiply that by 1,000, and we end up with a skyscraper, then we get that further away from that which we can prove what is exactly truth. And so, a lot of the systems that are they're in motion today to keep us safe and to keep us organized or whatever, they spurred from the one caller that mentioned the I am, and Moses is like, I don't understand you. We were primitive. We were very primal. We're talking about a group of people that after 40 days gave up and built a bowl at the bottom of the hill and he came trucking down the hill with like 10 commandments. Like, what happened, guys? 40 days has only passed. So scope of time and the human mind at that time was extremely primitive. I think that God put in motion a diet. Mosaic law was very simple. And I think, as I understood it, or it's been taught to me anyway, I didn't originate the thought, but it was explained that in order to discipline the creature, the creator put commandments that were basically, they revolved around a thing that would happen every time at a natural process. We have to eat. And so people will be given a daily opportunity to express their obedience. And the concert of it is, I'm sure that he was just like, oh, you got to eat. You're fooled by this. But the natural drive in our body is to eat. It's not something that we have to think about. It's automatic. So we're under the, I'm only eating these certain things. And so blah, blah. It evolves into something much greater. But at the very base, you mentioned where the gods have come and gone. Okay. They've extended past the original point of origin. And the one thing I just will point out, though, is that the idea of the Christ and his difference in the realm of God speak is that he placed himself in his plan at the center of it, and that we'll all fall short. There's no denying that. We're human beings. We fail.
But why would he do it 2,000 some odd years ago before phones or cameras or any kind of better form of documentation than, hey, a bunch of an unreliable account is enough justification to believe in this stuff? It just seems like I can't wrap my mind around how people believe this stuff to be true with such terrible evidence.
I understand what you're saying. And unfortunately, I'm as afraid of the person that says, I know, as afraid as, or as concerned as the person that says you cannot possibly know. Because I think that the mere fact that we're alive and we're continuing forward, the prospect or the potential of anything actually occurring is still present. And so I'm trying to keep an open mind, just moving through this existence and just taking it all in. And I love the opportunity that this internet gives us to talk and bounce off of each other.
Amen to that. Yeah, I'm flabbergasted by the usefulness of TikTok and other similar apps. Question.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about two philosophical concepts. One is Occam's razor. I would like you to describe it, or we can talk about it. And two is the null hypothesis. Are you familiar with these terms?
So I've, over the course of the last 15 years, I've basically consumed everything that I can get my hands on. I am not keenly or sharp. I am aware of the concept and the idea. If you could refresh.
Sure. So Occam's razor is a tool that we use to examine two hypotheses, right? If I have the hypothesis that the Earth is flat, and I have an alternate hypothesis that the Earth is round, then we can examine the evidence for both of those claims, those hypotheses. And through observation, we can determine which version makes more sense or less sense, which has more supporting evidence and which has less supporting evidence.
I know the answer to that one. So here's the thing. The only thing that we can know is what we know, for sure. Like my mind, I'm certain of what I think, I'm relatively certain. I don't know anything at this point. I don't even know if I am a brain in a vat.
Well, we can all be mistaken, sure.
Correct. But the pure point of your one statement is from the power of perception or observation perspective. I can't know either one, without relying on the trust, or that a camera is a camera and the camera actually captured what it is I'm seeing at the exact point in time, that I am actually able to put those two things together and be like, hey, exactly 2,000 miles away, there's an actual curvature to the Earth, and that person, you know what I mean. So
Well,
there's apparatus that is required to prove those things.
let's use a more simple explanation. The heart pumps blood, right? For a very long time, humans have been splitting corpses open and observing the inner workings of the body, not just the human body, but dogs, cows, giraffes, you name it, right? And we can observe some fundamental truths about biology, right? And we can conclude that the heart pumps blood. What if I had an alternate hypothesis that said, no, the heart doesn't pump blood. The heart is the center of our emotions. And everything else, it just doesn't make sense. Now you can either accept this alternative hypothesis, or you can stay with the null hypothesis, which is what our best understanding of the fact of the matter, right? The heart pumps blood. So that's the hypothesis that we're working with. We have evidence of it. We can justify it. We can quantify it. We can test it. We can repeat this observation over and over and over, right? So this is our null hypothesis. Now, an alternate hypothesis comes along. No, the heart is actually the center of our emotions. Well, let's examine that, right? So, if you want me to believe that the heart is actually the center of our emotions, I need more evidence. You can't just make the claim. You can't just claim that is true and expect me to believe it. So I apply Occam's razor and I say, I am not going to accept this alternative hypothesis. I'm going to use Occam's razor to cut it away, which leaves me with the null hypothesis. N-U-L-L. That's the null hypothesis. Now I'm going to demonstrate how I apply that to the concept of a God, a creator God, some kind of energy force that gives us consciousness. I have no good evidence to warrant that belief. Maybe that evidence will appear someday, and I can examine that evidence and then change my null hypothesis to accept the alternative hypothesis. But until that time, I'm going to use Occam's razor to remove the more complicated God magic. God is eternal. God is outside of space-time and reality. God is all these fantastic things that you claim we can never understand, and at the same time, describe how you understand it to be. No, I'm going to reject all that. I'm going to stick with the like here we are. We understand the basics. Let's work with that.
I'm picking up what you're laying down, and you're exactly true. And it clicked as soon as the words came out of your mouth there toward the end, and that is the fact that he doesn't care if we figure him out. He doesn't need to be proven. And people running around, the motivation to prove anything to anyone it causes me to be skeptical. Like, there's no need for me to prove certain things to people because they just are. So you spoke of so there's the is. So you mentioned emergent a couple times. You used it as things emerge. And so when you talk about composition or what makes things, it's the is of composition, not actual. I'm trying to put it in words. Is it the is of composition? So a traffic jam. Can a one car cause a traffic jam? Or does it require? Or are we looking at the point that a traffic jam has evolved and now there's 100 cars involved? So if you extend backwards and you are actually trying to find a point in time to actually find the prime contributor or reason for anything, it is left to opinion. It is left to point is observed. It is left to, after all the information is collected and everybody said different things and everybody throws it in the bucket and everybody can look at it, that they actually come to their conclusions. So I just think that technology and our ability to be someplace in time, like right now, I don't know where you physically are in the world, but right now, you and I, I'm in a bathtub right now, okay, in Texas. And you're in a room where you are, and the fact that we are talking on this device with all the things happening to make it possible, to me, is just straight witchcraft. To me, it's like, it's crazy. I grew up, somebody mentioned, you mentioned Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
I remember how freaking insane Pong was when connect it to the UHF, The converter box is back there. You switch a thing, and now we're playing Pong, bro. This is crazy. It's so insane.
Or how about the infinite screen of Pac-Man? You just walk off the left side of the screen and you appear on the right side of the screen. What is
No,
this?
how is this possible? So
Yeah.
it's just it always I always have I'm always bettered by listening to your show. I just wanted to tell you that I appreciate you and I appreciate everything you're doing. Um, I just
Thank
am
you.
afraid. I'm afraid, like, if I got to the point where I was like, where I started to doubt everything, that I don't know that I could go atheist. It's just, to me, that's a lot of confidence compared to agnostic. Um, I'm I'm I'm
Yeah.
flirt I'm flirting with agnosticism because
Well, they're not mutually exclusive, you know. Gnosticism has to do with knowledge. If you know that the heart pumps blood, then
then
you
you
are
deny it.
Gnostic, right? But if I said, well, I don't know what the heart is for, then I am agnostic. I don't know. Knowledge is Gnosticism. And theism is the belief in a
In the
god or
thesis,
gods,
it's a
where
belief in the thesis. It is a
no,
thesis.
it's no,
Is it is the base theocracy theos?
it's it's loosely related, but no, theology is
Okay,
the belief in a or multiple gods.
right.
That is the definition. But the important word is belief. It's the belief system. So Gnosticism and theism are related, but they're not the same thing. So you can either be a Gnostic theist or an agnostic theist. You can believe in God, but you don't know, or you do know that they exist. So a Gnostic theist, a hard theist, is claiming that they know with certainty that
Yes,
God exists, therefore they believe God exists.
right.
But a agnostic atheist is someone that does not know that there is or is not any gods.
Does one of
And
them
I
say?
also and
Does
you
one of them
also
say
don't
they?
believe.
Does
So
one of them
it
say they know for sure they don't exist?
yes, that
They
would
have
be
to
a
be like, what are
Gnostic.
your pronouns today?
That would be a Gnostic atheist, or
Okay,
more action. Most people would call themselves a hard atheist or an anti-theist.
gotcha.
Be, yeah,
That's
and I
almost
am.
somebody that's just like the signs on the door, and they just don't want anybody to knock. They're just like, I'm good, bro, because I don't
Uh,
know that we can know anything with supreme confidence. Like you mentioned, blood, the heart, and all that. I'm reminded of phlogiston and like the
I'm
fact that before we started cutting bodies open, we believed there was freaking spirits in there running around through our veins like little goblins, and that's
right,
just. I think that lends to my original observation or original belief that, man, we're just matter, and we were like organized, and who knows if we were built from another, like if Eve was from Adam's rib or what, and poof, and then he breathes
right.
life into us, he inspired us,
so
and then we're like off and
I'm pretty
running.
close to a hard atheist. Is I'm a little bit harder than Brian. Brian says he needs evidence, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer.
Okay, well, I
Well,
definitely know that the consequence is basically supposed. I mean, there's no rule book anywhere in any of our system of government that's actually there. It is. Hey, if you don't believe in it, it ends up being true. I'm always reminded of the Pascal's wager. That's the one that I'm like, you know what? I'm hedging my bets, bro, just in case. And I think
yeah,
that with most people are like not that confident. Like I found, like when they're like, oh, this or that, and then I delay, and then I'm like, are you sure though? And that one, and you watch their eyes go, they dart left or right up into the sky, and they're like, man, I've really never been asked that. I really don't know, which
right.
causes it's a call out. So
So
yeah,
here's the problem with Pascal's wager. How do you know that you're praying or believing in the correct God? What if that God actually is a trickster? What if that God has your worst intentions at heart, right?
right.
Um,
Well,
but
what's a
furthermore,
good point? What's
um,
what's his belief system?
I so I will be a Gnostic atheist when we start putting parameters on the claim of God. For example, if your parameters for God are the omnis, the all-knowing, the all-loving, and the
Yeah.
all-powerful, well, I can demonstrate how that is a logical contradiction. That God cannot logically exist. And
All I
and
have
I
to
don't
say
really
to you, all I have to say to you is, it's the devil. That's all I have to say to you. Because any aberration or any point, as you've just pointed out, can be quickly dismissed as, it's the adversary throwing his wrench in, and again, we wish it was all going to work, but guess what? There's an instrument within the story that actually
How
answers
dare
for
you,
the
Loki?
deviation. Or
Isn't
Loki.
that convenient? Isn't that
Yes,
convenient?
it is convenient. But
Yeah,
anyway,
and that's just moving the goalpost. Like the one of the most obnoxious things that I find theists do all the time is just move the goalpost. Oh, well, here are my parameters, and I say, well, that's not logically consistent. Then they move the goalpost over and say, well, you can't conclude that because that's just the devil. Oh my goodness, are we having an honest conversation or not?
yeah.
Anyway, I appreciate you. Enjoy your bath. Don't let the water get too cold.
It's turn to get out now. I got to get out.
All right, good. Well, thanks for your participation.
Yeah, thanks for my invitation. I appreciate you. Have a good rest of your day, and I'm sure I'll see you later.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right,
So
one more guess.
I sent you Dragon Lisa.
Oh, good.
I think the people deserve to see Dragon Lisa.
Yeah,
for those that don't know, Brian requested a few things, and I made a few alterations to Lisa. Lisa was requested as a dragon, so I made Dragon Lisa for Brian specifically. Also, I was playing around and I made a rainbow cat. That is neither here nor there, but if he chooses to show you, you can see. So, give him a second. It took way too much time for me to figure out how to dragonize a giraffe. It took way too much time.
We're definitely showing the rainbow cat.
Oh, yeah, I thought, yeah. He liked the cat a lot.
Look at that.
I think we need to start discussing Lisa's shape-shifting properties. Because she is a crafty one, isn't she?
I'm telling you, Chelsea, you got to put these on Etsy and allow people to send you some shekels for a high definition, amazing background image for their phone or computer, or they can put it on a t-shirt. You've got such opportunity that you really need to. A drag.
It's a drag.
A dragon. It's a dragon.
It's a
giraffe.
You're gonna have
giraffin.
One, man.
It's a giraffin.
It's a giraffin. So,
isn't it sexy? Look at that. Okay, now we're gonna get to the weird one. This one's just as good though. Stand. Here we go. Let me get myself out of the way.
Happy, that's all.
Giraffin. Yes, love. Isn't that amazing?
If Lisa, the dragon giraffe, has a store, what should we name her store? Because that's, I feel like, an important thing.
Oh, work out those details later.
Oh, thanks, bud.
Yeah.
No, it's like I started and it says name your shop, and that was like the first thing it asked me. It says name your Etsy.
It should be something like Chelsea's art studio. Something.
It's officially Chelsea Chic Boutique.
Chic Boutique. Hello, welcome. Are you there? We heard you for a. There you are. What's on your minds today?
So there's nothing in particular, but I feel that your questions with regards to the Bible is not being answered by people with the right knowledge. Yeah. So, dude,
my friend,
and I mean that extremely humbly.
I'm sorry. No. There's a major lag with your internet, and you were robot voice. So try again if you want to come back right now. If you can hear me, request again. I'll bring you back in, and we can try again. But that was not intelligible.
So I had a jewelry store like a long time ago, and it was Chelsea Chic Boutique. So
There, nailed it. Figured it out.
nailed it. Was he speaking in my mind?
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, for all of its wonder and amazement, the TikTok app, there are some flaws still with everyone's internet. Oh, there he is. They're back.
Someone said it was the power of Lisa
Okay.
the Dragon.
Cross your fingers. Tub guy was funny. All right, let's try this again. Testing
Hello,
1, 2.
Brian, sorry. It was the stroke of midnight here in South Africa.
Oh, you're better, but it's not great. So share with us, share what's on your minds, and we'll see what we can work with.
It was the stroke of midnight in South Africa.
Oh my goodness. I don't think we're gonna get anywhere. Yep. Sorry, buddy. You need better internet.
Last call.
Yeah, last call. I got time for one more, but I'm getting a little mentally exhausted. It's been fun though. I think today was a bunch of really good conversations.
We need to return to space to feed Lisa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
South Africa gets cut off. I didn't want to boot him out, but the internet was just not having it. I used to live in New Zealand and I loved it to pieces, but the absolute worst part was their poor internet. They're just so far away from everyone else that their internet tubes have to run under the ocean and then all over Australia and then under the ocean again and then through the Philippines and then under the ocean again, and it's just so far. It's a mess. And expensive. Oh, we got one more guest. Good.
So someone said the giraffe Lisa needed to be rainbow. There is a giraffe Lisa that's rainbow. It just wasn't as good as the other.
Yo, yo, hey, yo.
Hey, yo.
Welcome. What's on your minds?
I don't know. I'm just kind of chilling, hanging, getting ready for my labs and x-ray tomorrow.
What are you studying? Or doing?
No, no, not in college. We dropped out a while ago.
Okay.
No, I'm getting blood work done. I may have a spinal injury.
Oh, sorry to hear.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, Chelsea's got some of those.
Yeah, I have a working theory on it that when I had Rona, I coughed too hard and just pulled the lower lateral muscles that hang out along your spine, and they're just permanently tense back there.
Yeah, that's rough. I've suffered some back pain too, just working in construction for years. Eventually your sciatic nerve decides to say, "Fuck you." But
yeah. Someone
said
not fun. Rainbow giraffe needs to breathe rainbow fire. Yes.
Ooh. Good call. Good call.
Oh shit, it is a giraffe. I was having issues figuring out what it was.
So there's, full disclosure, there's a YouTuber that I like to follow. His name is The Skeptic. He's a British atheist who moved to America, and he coined Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe as the creator of universe. So I do not claim ownership of this idea, but Chelsea and I are taking it to a whole new, beautiful, colorful level.
Switch. Here, I just sent you the rainbow dragon. Yes, you are 100% correct. I definitely am going to need rainbow fire. I don't even know how to, yes. I don't know how.
John, I love that. Sure, copy paste biblical verses. That will really convince me.
All I need to do is read it on TikTok. Yeah.
It's the eyes for me. I'm loving the eyes. She looks less like a giraffesis. Or what were we calling?
Giraffesis.
No, Giraffesis was the Pegasus. What are we calling this one?
Giraffin.
Oh, it's a giraffin. That's right. I'm sorry. How dare
I
I?
like giraffing. What are you doing? I'm
Yeah.
giraffing around. Leave me alone, Mom.
I like the ones with wings that look like a Pegasus, but it's a giraffesis.
If I die and find God, I will flip him off as I backflip into hell.
That seems legit.
All right, Hopalana Jikasis something is back. I'm gonna bring him in and see if their internet's any better.
You can do it. Go Wi-Fi.
I think it's the same guy.
Go Wi-Fi. Yeah, it is. Go Wi-Fi. Go Wi-Fi.
Can you hear us now?
Thanks for calling again, dude. Yes, I can.
Good. What's on your minds?
Nothing in particular. I will you guys refer, for example, to
Oh man.
Sorry, bro. It's just so bad.
Oh no. Dude, I'm so sorry. Sucks balls.
Oh, that
yeah.
That
yeah.
So if you can
we got sucks balls. So you know what?
That we heard. Quick, you got 10 seconds. Go.
If you guys can hear, you were referring to Sasquatch, but
yeah,
in Kandahar, in Afghanistan, if you were to ask the Taliban flee the mountains, but the villagers, they simply do not. It's because of there being, according to them, Candahites or significantly larger beings in ourselves. And that's so that you don't have to be.
I can't. I just can't.
I heard Taliban.
No, I heard.
That's
I
you
heard
guys
something
were
about
to do something.
Bigfoot and Taliban.
You'd love the truth.
I think there is either a Bigfoot in Afghanistan mountains, or the Taliban killed him again. I'm not really sure what he said.
I heard something about the Taliban. I'm a little worried.
Regretfully,
I heard Metallica.
Oh, is that what you heard? Because that is not what I heard.
Hey, record a video and send it to us. We'll respond slowly through TikTok videos.
I promise that if I really want to hear this, please.
Yeah, let me just get a second device and
get
on
how does Metallica prove Bigfoot?
No, I heard Taliban, man.
I know. I was joking, but it was just. I'm sorry, my friend. It was so robot and unintelligible.
Wait! Everyone in the chat, stop. Okay, start texting it out, dude. We got this. Do this
together. if you want to get your thumb typing.
Everyone, for a second, just stop. We're gonna pause. Everybody in the chat, we want to read this together. We believe in
but
you.
Anybody who knows the Metallica lineup knows that Robert Trujillo looks like a damn orangutan. I love that man so much. Nick, if you're gonna proselytize, please spell divine correctly. Like, I speak your fucking Christo-fascist bullshit, whatever. I really don't fucking care, but spell it correctly. That was half the reason the layman could read, was to read the Bible.
The Bible.
And you just fuck it. You fucked it.
Belief be upon you all. You just have to believe.
Just believe.
Just believe.
Yep. You can do it.
I got a bunch of beliefs everywhere.
I got some beliefs in a jar over here. Thank
you. Lisa does not take money like other religions. She just collects leaves.
Yeah. Her favorite are the eucalyptus leaves.
Yeah, it's a different
You can deny me, but you are mocking Jesus Christ.
Do they have 1,000 followers? No. Keep it up.
The Bible. Someone in the Bible.
I'll let you know Jesus was a white man in the middle of the Middle East.
All right, we got over 100 followers. Let's do a follow dump. Here are the rules. Rule number 1. If you want to join these live conversations and you have under 1,000 followers, then type the words Lisa, just Lisa, Lisa. And everyone, please follow Lisa's. Follow all of the Lisas. Only type
It's
it once.
about time.
That's the third condition. Just type Lisa one time so we don't clog up the chat. So everyone, please, if you want to gain followers, we want to bring you into the conversation. Please, everyone, follow the Lisas. Follow. And everyone that follows me, I will follow you back. It takes me time sometimes to get through all of them. But I'm open to reading your direct messages. If you have questions or observations or criticism of anything I do, then I'll read it. But I am not interested in being proselytized or preached at, so you can save your time and mine. I will only block you if you become annoying. Follow the Lisas. Because when more people join this kind of conversation, I think it's better. So please follow all of the Lisas.
Nina, that better be for my saints. Who dat?
Who dat?
Everyone follow the Lisas except for people named Nick. No, I have no bias in this.
Southbound, do you want to tell us a story? How did you convert or deconvert? What's your background?
I've actually had a, somewhat interesting discovery and dissolution of faith. First, I was raised Catholic, then non-denominational Christian by my mom because Catholics were too hardcore, apparently.
Some of them are, for sure.
Went from non-denominational Christian to agnostic, then to Norse pagan, and then let's see. Oh yeah, then I just became atheist.
Just like that, just like it was a random Tuesday, and you're like, forget it.
Well, my deconstruction happened over a long time. Mostly just kind of seeing the bits and pieces of, wait a minute, the church is full of like assholes. Holy shit.
Yeah. So every great dam will crack and fall eventually. So what were your first cracks? What were the first telltale signs that led you to question?
The leader of my youth group was brought up on kid diddling charges.
Ooh, yeah, that'll do it.
Because there was the stereotype of like Catholics and their priests being the diddlers.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait a minute, it's the church in general. What the fuck?
And as you were leaving the faith, did you have a support group or a group of friends or family members that you could confide in and talk with? Or were you isolated for a time? How did that part go?
Yeah, I was isolated for a little bit, but then I discovered the Satanic Temple.
Right on.
And they helped me through a lot of my deconstruction.
Preach.
And they were literally just like, hey, bud, if, Christianity isn't working out for you, here's some stories. Here's some articles. All that kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
Then I became a Norse pagan because I thought that shit was fucking edgy and cool.
Edgy and cool.
And then I decided, wow, this is not for me. And just decided to, what happened?
I was just changing the background.
No. Side dipped.
What? Oh yeah. Her internet is crap sometimes. She walks around the house and her internet just goes nah, and then she'll be back in a minute.
Fun.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I host almost all the time, and because my internet's pretty solid.
Yeah. I did not, in fact, walk around the house. To be clear, I plugged my phone in, and TikTok didn't like that.
To be clear, I was powering my device. TikTok said, "The fuck you are."
Yeah, pretty much. All right, last call. Say your final thoughts. Say your final prayers. I'm going to be closing the live down in a moment, but I want to thank everyone for participating.
Do you want a final Lisa?
Yeah, of course we want a final Lisa. Send her over.
Pegoraph. See, in certain circles, that's something completely different.
Yeah. What kind of sex technique is that?
You see, it's when you get those stilts that you can walk in independently. And
those
I can't
fun.
describe the rest because I do feel like keeping my live access.
Smart.
You don't want to get banned? Why not?
To be clear, once again, Brian asked for a Lisa in sneakers. To be clear, these were not my decisions. I just want y'all to know, when you look at this, I didn't choose this. He chose this. I'm sorry.
Hey, Nick, did you know that I can also turn water into wine? Now, mind you, it's not nearly as, crazy as, holy shit!
Yes! Oh, it's cut off. Hang on. I gotta reform.
Fuck it.
Oh no, that is it. It's the top of its head is cut off. Isn't that glorious?
Jesus is returning, 2028. Vote Jesus.
Yeah, this next one is probably my favorite from last night's.
This one's my new favorite for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
This one is dope.
This is my new favorite, hands down.
Loaf, then Judgment Day.
Praise the Lisa.
So I have been trying to work on where to place her in space. And Brian said something about rainbow smoke, and I was like, so, fabulous.
Yeah,
Brian.
it's amazing. What?
The Jesus Terminators are coming.
Yeah, obviously it's the giraffe. You didn't. She has magic powers.
In 2028.
To be clear, that Lisa loves all of her green leaves the same way. All leaves are spiritual under Lisa.
It's a spiritual warfare. Now, you know me, Kermit the Frog, a.k.a. Jordan Peterson. I'll have you know, even though I am an atheist, you should be a Christian. Why? Because we can't get the white hegemony to work without Christianity.
Don't forget to clean your room.
Oh my god, my favorite meme is just of Kermit the Frog with a bunch of pills. Like, and it just says, clean your room.
Yeah.
Like, it's turbo fucked. It's turbo fucked.
Oh my god.
Should I laugh? No. Did I? Whole fucking heartedly.
Do you ever listen to Chapo Trap House?
I don't believe I do.
They make so much good fun of Peterson. It's worth diving into. Chapo Trap House. Who else does?
Someone asked if all leaves are sacred to Lisa. Yes, partaking in all leafy activities are sacred to Lisa.
Nick, I'll tell you, I will have an everlasting life because I am giving up my entire body for science. They will
What?
be able to put beeps and boops on me. I'll be able to outlive you.
Beeps and what?
Beeps and boops. I am actually a transhumanist. I do not want to be in this fleshy body.
That seems legit.
Yeah,
Are you
I don't
gonna
blame you.
Tony Stark it and just totally upload?
Maybe. I don't know. Or like a robo body would be pretty dope. Like,
Have
I
you
don't know,
seen?
maybe extend life for a couple hundred years tops, but not forever. That no.
What are you looking for?
I thought you sent me another text picture, but it was someone else texting me. Chapo what? Chapo Trap House is the name of one of the most popular left-wing, what's it called? They talk politics,
What are they, a
history,
podcast?
podcast. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. Chrisman, I can't remember the original. They're on Patreon, they're on YouTube, they're on all of the podcasts platforms. Chapo Trap House. They were really popular in 2020 or 2019 when Bernie was running. They were huge supporters of the Bernie Sanders campaign. That's when I discovered them. And then after the election, they kind of went kind of obscure, very nihilistic, very depressing. So I stopped listening for a while. But they've been popping off lately. They've been doing a really good job at deep diving into contemporary political history, and they're funny. They're just super friggin' funny, and
Let's see.
a bit nihilistic for my taste, but they're
Anointed
very
Mom
smart.
says, if it could be proven, would you want a relationship with God? No, he is a jealous, evil bastard who murders children because someone said, I don't know, I don't really fucks with that Yahweh guy.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Because if the stories are to be believed, Yahweh said, fuck all of these people, and then washed them away. Because, that's what a loving God does.
And then let us figure out his coded message in a 2,000-year-old book that's been translated and retranslated and retranslated, and he hides himself to save ourselves from understanding his will and presence. It just blows my mind. I don't get it.
Is that where Anakin got his Jedi training for killing kids? No, actually, he just became a GOP politician.
Oh my goodness. All right, you're too
I'm on a
funny.
fucking roll today. I should smoke up more often.
Yeah, you start your own lives. I'm gonna follow you. Follow me back. I'm sure we already are.
Already
Oh, no.
done, Brian. Come on, dog.
I wasn't following you. Whoa. All right, DM me later. We'll hang out. I want to hang out with you more.
Yeah, for sure. I'll turn you into a commie yet.
Oh, it's not even a challenge.
Oh, bet. Seize the means of production, comrade?
Yeah.
Davai, comrade.
United we stand, divided we fall. Solidarity forever.
Why do multiple translations matter? Oh, okay, Jim, I can actually answer this and not be an asshole about it. So, at first, it was translated from ancient Hebrew. Ancient Hebrew. Oh, okay. So, at first, it was translated from ancient Hebrew, a language that hardly anybody knows or understands
I've
nowadays.
reformatted it. I fixed it.
Yo! Okay. Are you using an AI for these?
Of course.
These are gorgeous. But
do you know how long it takes me to communicate what I actually want? There are so many dashes and underscores. It is so time consuming to try and communicate with this stupid thing.
But we're going from ancient Hebrew, and the next step was ancient Greek, and then ancient Roman.
And then modern Roman, and then English, Old English, ancient English, and then modern English.
Oh, and also the Council of Nicaea, where they literally edited the Bible to fit, Constantinople's like, okay, let's just get this done and fucking out of the way.
So what? So the words that you read are very loosely related to what the original text said. The point is all holy books. It's not just the Bible. It's all of them. All of them are subjects to editing, alteration, fabrication, translation errors, and people pretend like it's the inerrant, perfect word of God, and it's silly.
It does work like silly. It does work like that, Yash. I'm really fucking sorry. Like, I wish the Bible was in its pure, unadulterated, ancient Hebrew version. I would love to find a first edition Bible. However, you cannot.
I know that he's a kind of controversial figure, but I'm reading the works of a legitimate biblical scholar. His name is Bert Ehrman, and he endeavored to prove Jesus existed and that God is real, and he's a college professor. He actually knows how to read ancient Hebrew and ancient Greek, and he looked at all of the source material.
Arabic,
I'll
yes.
Have you know, okay, Jim, that Bart Simpson doesn't understand the Bible and Christianity, okay? Now, me, Jordan Peterson, also a PhD, also a college lecturer. Jesus Christ, y'all, okay, I try to lay it out as simply as I can. Of course, I'm going to get some things fucking wrong. Just a couple of things fucking wrong. It's not a Google translation, Yash.
Yeah, there's no Google translator for ancient
meaning.
Greek.
Because you go from ancient Hebrew and Aramaic to ancient Greek. There are some words in ancient Greek we still don't have good translations for.
Yeah. Here, look, you can actually listen to his latest book on YouTube, the entire thing. It's basically his college lectures put into a better book form. I'm actually listening to it right now. I mean, not right now, but
if you're half wrong, don't speak on it. Jim, I don't want to hear you piping down there from the bitchless set. Don't even.
Just do your homework, people. Do your research. or learn how to speak ancient Aramaic yourself and do your own deep. Anyone can take the time to be a biblical scholar. Don't take our words for it. Maybe I'm blowing smoke.
Just because I can pummel your dad's ass doesn't mean it's a gay thing, okay? This is just fact.
All right. Simmer down now. Simmer down.
All right, I'm sorry. But let's go. I'm going to send y'all some resources, okay? That was a little too much. I apologize.
Yeah, we want to be a safe space here. We can commiserate in private. All right, everyone. It's 5:30. It's time for Brian to go cook some dinner. So thank you all. Southbound, DM me. I want to chat later.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick. Extra credits. Early Christian Schisms. It's a fantastic little series, and it's digestible.
What was it called again?
Early Christian Schisms.
Is it a video or a book or what?
It's a series of YouTube videos.
We're doing that tonight.
Schisms. There's a fun word I don't spell too often.
Brian, what you making for dinner? Somebody asked.
SCHISM. Yeah, I didn't get it on my first try. I have to think about that for a minute.
Stuffed
Oh, I bought haddock. Yes, I bought some stuffed haddock from the fishmonger. I'm going to do a side of veggies. It's going to be yummy.
I wish I had a fucking fishmonger. I just have the annoyed people behind the counter at Winco. And I'm like, hello, fishmongers. And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, what do you want, dude? And it's like, you're paying good money back there. I know you are.
I don't know. Is that Lisa's third eye? I assume it is the smoke that she produces when she takes in the leafy greens.
Shut up, Jacques. That's funny.
Well, I live in a coastal town on the coast of Maine. We have some excellent fishmongers.
Jesus made many fish.
Yes, he did. And Jonah lived in a belly of a fish for 3 days because God magic, I guess.
I love God magic. Is a whale a fish? Depends who you ask.
Sir.
Maybe it's a translation error.
All
right, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Oops. I don't want to kick anyone. Yeah, there we go. All right. Let's make me big. Thank you for participating and joining and listening and arguing. I always appreciate it. I had fun. I got flustered from time to time, but hey, it's part of the gig. So don't spend all night on TikTok. Go touch some grass. Go hug your mom. Go read a book. And be well. Try to be kind. All right. Until next time, thank you, everyone, and good night.